right. Good evening, everyone. We'll call our meeting to order. Please remember we are being recorded, and we will, I think we have some Girl Scouts here. Do you guys want to rise and help us say the pledge? Do you mind?
Feel like
You want to come up? Come on up.
We can do that pledge too.
Come over to the...
Sorry, I put you on the spot there. You guys are already doing very well. All right, y'all ready?
somebody's got to go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job.
Oh, great job. Boy Scouts never sounded that loud.
All right, we will begin this evening with the town administrator's report.
Thank you, and good evening. I'll provide a brief update about operations in town. In light of the stacked public hearings and everyone else, I'll try to be as quick as possible. First, I wanted to give an update on the HR front. We said goodbye to Chrissy Raposo as the customer service supervisor last week. She is moving on to Linfield to be the assistant town accountant, where she will be joining Dave Castellarine, who has worked here in town in the past, so they've known each other for a while, and we wish her well. We posted that position as soon as we heard that she was going to be moving on. And we've had a number of qualified candidates and actually extended and had accepted an offer this afternoon for her replacement, so I anticipate introducing that individual at our next meeting. We're working on start date and that type of thing right now. As you know, this team is a critical part of us providing high level of customer service, so we're looking forward to having it fully staffed soon. In that same vein, we're interviewing for a new customer service rep to join the team that will also be in that office, and anticipate having that team member join very shortly as well. Recently, with the changes in staff, I wanted to particularly thank Liam and Jean, who have done a fantastic job, along with a lot of others, helping by sort of playing out a position in Town Hall and supporting the customer service office. It's been a busy beach sticker season, among other things, so we really appreciate everyone's effort and sort of playing outside their normal roles. In addition to that, we have the impending retirement of Heidi at the Senior Center, so we've posted that position as well, and we've had a number of really qualified candidates that we're excited about. We begin the interview process with the first round of those interviews next week, and hopefully we'll be moving forward shortly, and we'll have more to report on that as well. At the library, we're currently searching for a new reference and adult programming director, and interviews have been ongoing there as well with Mary Ann and Jonathan, so again, we're looking forward to welcoming a new member. And then finally, at DPW, we are in the final stages of the interview process for a new MEO with an offer anticipated at the beginning of next week there as well, following a retirement. I wanted to give a brief update also on Hadley. We've been having continuing conversations with the team at Palomar. They've been in the building regularly, working with Max and others to get access as they move forward in their plans, and we just received their design drawings coming into Marzi's office. We anticipate having Dixon join us on the 17th to walk through those with all of you as well. So we'll be sharing those in the coming weeks. On the Hawthorne front, which I know we'll be discussing in greater detail later, I wanted to highlight that as the team there is continuing their preparation work on the site, it's important that residents anticipate that parking restrictions will be returning to that property in the near future. In order to safely prepare and then to operate the building, we anticipate that the tenants will be placing restrictions on access and parking, similar to what's been in place previously. They'll be appropriately signing it in advance to allow for some education prior to any enforcement, but it's something that I wanted to share with you all in the community at large tonight as well. Finally, I wanted to provide a quick update on Cedar Hill Terrace, which we've discussed at, I think, the last two meetings, or two out of the last three. We had a very productive meeting with Marzi, myself, and Gino, and the team at Four Seasons. We went over their permit that had been approved by the ZBA a few years back, which talks about limits on their parking on the streets, and also talks about a parking plan that was accepted as part of it on their property that limits the number of vehicles that are allowed. they're reviewing that with their attorneys and others, but it was a very productive and good discussion. It's one that they had wanted to engage with the town over time. And they had actually approached the DPW team, who has hashed the bottom of Cedar Hill at this point and painted, and thanked them for doing that, because it was not only them, but other businesses whose customers were parking in those spots and causing, real safety concerns for them as well. As Gina recounted it to me, the guys were anticipating that when someone came out of there to speak to them, it was not going to be a pleasant conversation. And instead, they came out and said, thank you for doing that. It's something that will really benefit not just the people that live up the residential street, but also all the businesses at the bottom. The two additional things that remain there, the vegetation management has not yet occurred. It's been on the work plan for DPW for about a week now. Gino said it would be done tomorrow. I would say to you all, it will be done in the next week to allow a little bit of wiggle room there. And we also anticipate adding no parking signage at the bottom of the street to allow for enforcement in the future, because the hashed alone is not enough. If we are to, sort of step up enforcement for parking, the hashed paint is not enough to allow for any ticketing in the future. So that's one other thing that folks can anticipate. There'll be a sign on each side that says no parking. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Question?
No, great work on Cedar Hill, getting it done.
I just wanted to know, so you went over the library and what you need at town hall. Where are we with police and fire? Are they at their staffing levels?
Fire has one vacancy left, and we are in the process of negotiating the CBA, and there's some potential changes to the process of bringing in the qualified candidates at the beginning. So we're working on whether we'll move forward immediately or wait until we get a little further down the road on CBA.
Okay.
And police, I believe we are fully staffed there. We have, I want to say 3 that are in academy. Might just be 2 at this point, but I can get back to you with the exact details on that.
Okay, and in the future, can you get us information on what's going on with the steering committee and what's happening with Stacy Brook?
The steering committee for,
Stacy Brook.
yes, absolutely. I'm happy to provide more info.
Do we have confirmation that our Water Sewer Advisory Committee now has a member on the Lynn Steering Committee?
So the steering committee that meets, that is organized by the mayor's office, I've been sharing it with both Kelly from Water Sewer Advisory and George, who I think I saw in here, from Board of Health as well.
Okay,
To
great.
make sure that they're on it. I've requested that they get added to the invites, but instead, to this point, I've been sending it and forwarding it to them as soon as
Okay.
I get it.
Perfect.
And I believe the one that we did yesterday, was it? Well, it was 2 days ago. That was one where we got it to them as well. It was sort of late notice. So we're working on improving the communication on that front, but I got it to them as soon as I had it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, seeing no additional
I've
comments.
got one
Oh,
other
sorry,
comment,
Ted,
actually.
please.
You brought up the parking restrictions for the Hawthorne lot, which I think would, play into the conversation we had about Cedar Hill. And our last meeting, we talked about parking enforcement on Humphrey Street and the number of citations that were issued this year. Can we kind of every so often get an update on parking enforcement, the number of citations that are being given out? I think that may spur further conversations amongst the board about enforcement.
Sure. I'm happy to do that. One conversation I have had with the chief and Captain Cable, which is not fully baked, the only reason we haven't talked about it,
Yep.
is looking at the way residential parking is enforced townwide to make sure that it is as appropriately enforced and provides the opportunities necessary in the areas where we need them as can be. So it's something that we will come back to you with
Perfect.
new thoughts for you all and recommendations for you all to make decisions on, but happy to talk about enforcement in sort of a regular ongoing basis.
Yeah, I just think if we instill some of those Hawthorne parking regulations back, I was casually counting the cars there last week when I had to park there, and there was close to 60 cars. I would imagine there's going to be a spillover effect onto our parking availability on Humphrey Street and the surrounding areas. So I just think it would be helpful for the board to be mindful of that and kind of monitoring the side effects of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and given beach season is starting, hopefully, eventually one of these weekends we'll be able to go to the beach. So if we could also have them designate like particular areas where enforcement is sort of being maintained, because I know around the beaches, we've had quite a few issues with parking on the wrong side of the street where the signage is, and, when tickets are issued and how often and all that. So if we could just make sure we're proactive for beach season, that would be great.
Absolutely.
The other thing with, I think it's Ocean Ave, When we first changed the parking on Ocean, we were told by Pete Kane that there was significant amount of room to be able to have parking on both sides. Can you ask somebody to double check that, because there isn't significant room on both sides, and that might have to get adjusted?
Sure.
I think my last question, DPW, and I think a consultant spent the last couple of weeks repairing, rebuilding it's not a boat launch, but where the commercial fishermen kind of used to access their prams and racks, and they did a phenomenal job. It looks beautiful. They did a really good job. But it might be helpful to consider talking to our friends on the Harbor Waterfront Committee about some signage there, because that is not a boat ramp, and it's not designed to be a boat ramp, but there is a lot of people saying that's a really nice boat ramp. So I bring that up because we want to just make sure that it is used appropriately for the intended use.
Absolutely.
But Gino and team did a really good job fixing it. It looks great.
Can I add one other thing?
Please.
It's my daughter's 13th birthday, and I told her that I would mention that tonight, so happy birthday to Clara.
Clara.
Clara, well, happy birthday, Clara.
Shout out. She's
Town of
born
Swampscott
Yeah.
wishes you happy birthday.
Proclamation time.
Yeah.
We
We
definitely
should have
don't
had a
need that.
proclamation.
I had it as a note at the top, and somehow I just skipped
Somehow.
right over it, so
Now you just admitted it to Clara.
thank you.
All right, so we will move on to public comment then. Public comment, we will limit to 3 minutes. Ask Nick if you wouldn't mind keeping the time. Please state your name, your address. Public comment is for anything on the agenda that is not a public hearing. So if you're here to talk about ERAC, then you can talk about it during that. And if you're here to talk about the liquor license, we will take public comment during that. All the other topics, our public comment is right now. So please rise and let us hear your comments. Please, Brian.
Happy birthday to your daughter.
Thank you.
I know tonight is not,
Just
This
say your
like-
name and your, just in case people don't know you.
oh, I'm sorry, Brian Watson, 20 Oak Road. I know tonight is not, the Select Board doesn't anticipate a long and deep discussion about substantive issues regarding the Hawthorne, and I'm not going to comment on any substantive issue right now. I just wanted to say that prior to a future meeting, when that might become on the agenda, I wanted to say that there are a number of us from the Hawthorne Committee and a few not from the committee who have been closely following the process. Those include myself, Jim Smith, John Bond, and Don Giard. Don Giard was a planner who came and spoke to us and advised us for one meeting. We would like to say that we hope to continue participating both through discussion of the material in the committee report and by discussing other issues too with the Select Board. Our committee did produce a lot of useful information which we think will be helpful to the Select Board and the town, and which can help, importantly, which can help in organizing the discussion about RFP content. It won't necessarily be an easy discussion to organize that material. One of the things our committee did do well, we did some things badly, but one of the things we did well over that 10-month process was to establish a really good and useful framework for discussing the various site plans and the various issues, and there are many issues. And it helped us to stay organized many times. The framework identified and established explicit criteria and goals that kept our discussions manageable. When our discussions digressed too far into tangents, we could use our explicit criteria to sort of, and the goals, to sort of reel us back in. It was a way to try and keep discipline. You remember our committee was 12 people. It was not always easy to keep a discipline and a focused discussion. But the explicit criteria were really a useful tool. We were then not always, I used to say, we're not at the mercy of our own opinions all the time. The criteria can really be good yardsticks. It's also good for transparency and fairness and public participation. Everybody can see what the rules are. Everybody can see what the goals are, so everybody can play. When the Select Board takes up discussion of what substance goes into the RFP, again, explicit criteria and goals will help immensely to organize the selection of what goes in the RFP. Jim, John, Don, and myself, and a couple others, are willing to help with the RFP substance and discussions. I like to say that's 2 lawyers, 1 architect, and a town planner, so that's not too bad. We all have considerable experience both in writing RFPs and in replying to RFPs. There are at least 10 or 12 fairly important issues that the Hawthorne Committee identified as needing resolution before an RFP could be written. They were things we either we disagreed among ourselves about, or they were just things that needed more fleshing out. And the four of us and a couple of others would welcome the opportunity to collaborate with the Select Board to help create a good RFP process and then thereby a good RFP. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else for public comment?
Hi, good evening. Rachel Teradash, Katie Carolice, both of Stanley Road, but here on behalf of Big Blue Bargains, 155 Norfolk Ave. Good evening. Many of you know this, but Big Blue Bargains opened February 2025 in the Clark Portables. In our first year, we invested $28,000 back into the Swampscott community. On our 1-year anniversary, we were lucky enough to be able to move into the Clark building. Since then, we've invested $31,000 back into the Swampscott community. So, most recently, we've given $10,000 to the Senior Center, $5,000 to Anchor Food Pantry, $2,000 to Sea Glass Village, $1,000 to fund Sora, her upkeep, $1,900 for 2 benches through the Swampscott Commission on Disability, $2,700 to the preschool to continue the music and movement class for next year. That's $31,000 in the past 3 months and just over $60,000 since we opened in February of 2025.
Awesome.
As a reminder, we are 100% volunteer run. All of our proceeds go to running the store and back into the community. In addition to our monetary contributions, we've sponsored programming at the library, distributed gift cards to community partners, including the Senior Center, schools, charity organizations, and local healthcare offices to be given out to community members in need. We also have an ongoing partnership with the Discovery Point program at the Swampscott High School. We're excited to announce that we will be opening a free store in the Portables this Saturday, June 6th from 9 to 11. We're looking forward to meeting the needs of some of our most vulnerable community members while offering them the ability to shop with dignity for clothing, housewares, and toys. So we're here tonight to share our donations, but also to thank all of our volunteers, shoppers, donors, and the town for our space in Clark. Obviously, more space means we have a bigger impact, and we appreciate you reaching out, and we look forward to continuing the conversation about how we can work together on the 16th. So, thank you.
Anybody want to follow that up? Guess not. All right, we will move on then to old and new business.
Someone's got the.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, please. No, can you please approach the mic because the folks at home will want to hear you.
I wanted to comment about.
So,
Hold on one sec. I want to make a comment about the quarry and ERAC's permit. And
if you could just state your name and your address, and then also,
I live at 19 Essex Street.
you may speak during the public hearing for ERAC, but you can also speak now if you're more comfortable. So there's a public hearing posted for the ERAC permit if you want to
I
speak.
can wait for that.
Okay,
Okay. Right.
that would be great. I will call on you then. Thank you. All right, so we will move on then to the reading of the Pride Proclamation. So it would be my honor to share with you the Pride Proclamation by the Swampscott Select Board. Whereas our nation and community were founded on principles of equal rights for all, and whereas Swampscott is committed to being an inclusive, welcoming community for all people regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, and recognizes that our diversity strengthens us, including residents who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning. And whereas the movement for equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people reached a historic turning point during June 28, 1969, with the Stonewall riots in New York City. Since then, the LGBTQ+ community has made significant progress, including marriage equality nationwide, state and federal workplace protections, and the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. And whereas violence against LGBTQ+ community remains a serious concern in the United States, particularly an alarming rise in violence against transgender and gender nonconforming people. And whereas we must stand against those who threaten the safety of LGBTQ+ residents and undermine our progress, we must also continue to affirm a simple truth: all people want to love and be loved. And whereas Swampscott celebrates its diverse LGBTQ+ community and remains committed to ensuring equality for all residents, employees, and visitors. And now, therefore, by the authority vested in the town administrator and the select board, we hereby proclaim June as Pride Month in the town of Swampscott, Massachusetts, and encourage all residents to celebrate and affirm our proud and diverse LGBTQ+ community throughout the year. In witness hereof, we have set our hands and caused the Great Seal of the town of Swampscott, Massachusetts to be affixed this third day of June 2026, signed on behalf of the select board. We will also be sharing a Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas Swampscott is made up of people from every nation on earth who are declared equal not only in freedom but also in justice, both of which are essential for a healthy human civilization. And whereas our nation was conceived on July 4th, 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, the classic statement being, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas July 4th, 1776 represents the birth of the United States of America and commemorates the United States' independence from British rule, but did not offer independence and freedom to enslaved people. And whereas at 2 p.m. on New Year's Day, January 1st, 1863, using his war powers as president, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all enslaved people within any state or designated part of the state shall be then and henceforth and forever free. And whereas 2.5 years later, on June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of slavery, stating the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. And whereas Juneteenth improves upon the nation's promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and whereas Juneteenth commemorates the strength and resolve of Black and African Americans throughout our history and serves as an opportunity to celebrate the rich and numerous contributions of Black and African Americans. And whereas Juneteenth is also known as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Celebration, and Juneteenth Independence Day. And whereas June 19, 2026 marks the 161st commemoration of Juneteenth. Now, therefore, the Swampscott Select Board and the Town Administrator do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth in Swampscott, and we call upon all employees and residents of Swampscott to elect and reflect on this date's historic significance. In witness hereof, we have set our hands and caused the Great Seal of the Town of Swampscott, Massachusetts to be affixed this third day of June 2026, signed on behalf of the Select Board. So thank you for allowing those proclamations to be read, and I would just like to note that in both of these proclamations, the importance of allyship and coming forward and acknowledging that although we may feel more grounded in these ideals in our state, it's not nationwide, and we need to continue to voice our allyship for folks who are not feeling quite as supported. So I'm glad that we are able to do that as a board. So thank you, everyone. Any other comments? All right. We will now accept a little free library, but from the Girl Scouts. Would you guys like to come forward? Welcome, select board members. We are Troop 70359.
Oh, I'm Emma Crean. I'm Grace Crean. I'm Hannah Hawkert. I'm Reagan Kent.
And I'm Savannah Schultz.
We are 6th graders at Swampscott Middle School.
We are asking permission for our silver award, to do our silver award. A silver award is a project for Girl Scouts in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that address problems in their community.
The problem in the community that we are solving is access to books to improve people's education.
Next slide.
We are going to work to help solve the issue of literacy by collecting books at the farmers market and hosting story time at the farmers market.
We are trying to solve this problem by making the little free libraries. This allows people to give and get books. We want to install these libraries at Clark School and Phillips Park. We are making the little free libraries in Carpentry Club after school with the help of Mr. Lasso at SMS. We have already spoken with Mr. Lasso and we have a plan to make them next year. We were talking about the project on the ski bus in the winter, and Charlotte DeGarcia, the head of the rec department, overheard us and asked if we could make one for Clark School. We are also making one at Phillips Park because a lot of kids go there and we think it would be a good spot.
Because we are making these, if you want us to paint them a specific color, we can do that. Just let us know.
We have emailed Dino Cresta at the DPW, and he said he would install them for us if you approved.
Next slide.
Okay, thank you. We can take any questions or comments you guys have now.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is a great idea. Katie, do you have
If you approve it, you can shop for free at the Blue Markets.
Forever. Amazing.
I think it's a great idea. And I definitely think we need more of the little libraries. They're so popular and there's never enough. And I always want to put things in there and there's not enough room. So I think we could certainly use Phillips Park. That's a really great idea. That's a good location. This is very cool.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, who fills them and keeps them? Is that something you have to do too?
Yes.
Do you make a schedule on that? Like, how do you organize that?
We would be like checking up on them to see if their breeds fill, and like we would also be donating books from our house too.
Got it. And so how many silver awards are you required to do before you go to your gold award?
Well, it's not like the amount of silver awards we do, it's the amount of people in a group. So it's from 1 to 4, right? 1 to 4 people, but there's 5 people in a troop, so we have to do 2. So we're doing 2, but if it's like a troop of 4, they just have to do 1.
Got it.
Great.
And then what comes after your silver award?
Our gold award.
Gold award, right. Just
And you're all 5, you're one troop.
Yes.
So all 5 of you go and do the gold next?
Probably if we stay in Girl Scouts.
Well, so are you making a commitment to staying in Girl Scouts right here on TV?
no pressure.
Yeah.
All right, good.
How many will you be making?
Probably just 2, because we think that's a good amount for.
We also have to see how much wood we have in Carpentry Club.
Okay, got it.
When are you guys going to start the farmers market story time? Is that a next year thing?
We don't have a complete set date yet, but we'll hope to start them sort of soon, maybe.
I will be there. I've got a 4-year-old who loves story time, and I love dropping him off for story time, so I'll be there.
You might want to negotiate that.
Great job, though. This is really cool.
It's great to see you guys do this.
Yes, we very much appreciate the fact that it can be a little scary to come forward and speak in public, so we appreciate how brave you guys are to do that. And I don't know, do we have to take a vote, Nick? How do we handle this?
Why don't you take a vote?
Why don't we take a
Just so
vote?
know. Yeah.
Feels official that way. Everybody who would like to support the Silver Project with the Girl Scouts?
Yes. So
Aye.
moved.
Aye.
Oh, you want to say?
Oh, I thought you wanted to
Yep,
vote.
go ahead. You make a motion.
To support the Girl Scout troop in making their little libraries.
Take a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Well, we support you, and thank you very much for supporting us.
Thank you.
All right.
Very good.
Carpentry club.
Okay, so.
Very cool,
what time
yeah.
is it? We're good. Okay, so I will take a motion to move into the joint meeting with EREC. We have to open the public hearing, so I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
In a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. EREC, you wanna, are you officially having a meeting? I think they're enough for you. All right. So we are here to discuss the earth removal permit for Amrise, who some of you may know as Aggregate back in the day. And obviously, we've had you guys before us annually for quite some time. We'll listen to the EREC approval, and then if Amrise wants to speak, and then we'll take public comment. So I know there's at least one person who would like to comment. So, want to take it away?
My name is Joe Carrion. I am chair of the Earth Removal Advisory Committee.
There you go.
A small committee. I'm here with our members Tony Bandrowitz and John Piccarello, and representatives from Amrise are here, Jared Temple and Chris Drukas. Each year now we come to the board with a proposed recommended permit for Amrise. The process is that we recommend and the select board approves, and that's what we're doing now. Amrise submits their application for a permit on March 31st, and we have whatever time we can take to go over it. Each year we come with amendments to the permit, and they're primarily focused on streamlining language, clarifying language, consolidating language. There's very little that's substantive in what we do. We're a little bit prevented from doing that because of the litigation that took place not too long ago, where there was a settlement agreement relative to blast limits and blast parameters. So we don't touch those at all. But in other respects, we do look at the permit to see what works and what doesn't work, and if we can come up with a better way to do that. And when we do, meaning the members of ERAC do have ideas, we routinely discuss them with Amrise, because we may say something should work well, then they'll say, well, there's a reason why it won't. So in some respects, it's new ideas are collaborative. What we try to establish is what's our goal here, and then how best we can get there. You did receive in your packages both the recommended permit as well as two memorandum. One outlines the changes that we're proposing. The other is specific to the select board and the town administrator, and focuses on sections where you're mentioned, and we make recommendations to remove you from being mentioned, which might sound like a power grab, but it's not. In that memorandum, it's also included is all the areas where the select board and the town administrator are retained, and I think on balance they are much more critical decisions than where we've eliminated. It's primarily notice, and the simplest one was: is it really necessary that the select board be given notice when the wheel wash is down? It's stuff like that, and it also keeps in mind that if I think historically, the select board has not directly communicated with the Amrise or the quarry operators. They've typically gone through us. And historically, if you have questions or you have interest or demands, you go through ERAC. So I don't think removing the select board from certain parts where you might be given notice changes the role and changes the relationship between ERAC and the select board. Beyond that, I suppose I could go through these, but I'm not sure you want. I mean, you want me to, I will, but I'd much rather have receive questions. The only we are going to present a final draft of this permit recommendation for your vote on the 17th. And there's always something that comes up, either a change that you folks desire, or we find typos and we find other little discrepancies that need to be cleaned up. But I will also say that the permit that you receive, or the recommendation that you receive on the 17th, will not include the signatures of the Board of Health. That's a change from the past. Board of Health signatures have been on, but there's really, nobody knows why they were put on. The earth removal bylaw is Article 13 of the general bylaws, and nowhere in there is there a requirement that the Board of Health sign off on ERAC permits, whether it's the quarry or otherwise. So I did speak with the Board of Health chair and let her know that this is what I was going to tell you tonight, and so I just wanted to alert you to that, so it's not a surprise. So take any questions. If I can't answer them, we have plenty of people here who can.
So I do have an email from Gargi from, this is not on behalf of the Board of Health, because the Board of Health has not met to discuss this topic. They hopefully will meet between now and the 17th so that they can, come forward with any additional commentary before we talk about it on the 17th and, filter that back through ERAC. But I just wanted to read from the email Gargi requested because she couldn't be here tonight. So spoke to Joe Markarian last evening. He informed me that Article 13 does not state that the Board of Health has any authority to sign on the MRISE permit. After speaking to him, I did review the article and the MRISE permit. While I admit I have not fully understood the board's role to this point, I want to point out a few concerns I see when reviewing the article and the permit that is going ahead of the select board tonight. When reviewing the earth removal bylaw, particularly section 3 and 14, I believe the Board of Health should formally discuss its intended role and authority in the earth removing permitting process. So they're going to sit down and talk about that. Section 3 states that no permit may be granted if earth removal operations would endanger public safety or adversely affect residents' health and quality of life, or harm groundwater, surface water, wetlands, or other environmental resources. And these are matters that fall squarely within the Board of Health's expertise and responsibilities. Yet the current interpretation of the bylaws suggests that the Board of Health is neither required to review the permit application nor grant formal authority to act on information submitted with them. This raises a fundamental question. If public health and environmental impacts are central permitting criteria, but the Board of Health has no meaningful role in evaluating or addressing the impacts, who is responsible for making those determinations? The question is reinforced by the application materials, which require monitoring data and reports to be submitted to the Board of Health. There are multiple places where the permit states the data, reports, and issues should then be directed to the Board of Health. If the Board of Health lacks the authority to review, comment on, require corrective action, or influence permit decisions based on the information, the purpose of those reporting requirements is unclear. Section 14 provides for the appointment of one Board of Health representative to the ERAC committee. The Board of Health has no other formal authority under the bylaw. This appointment may be its only mechanism for raising and evaluating public health concerns during the permitting process. Accordingly, the board should carefully consider its representation and ensure its appointee is prepared to assess and advocate for public health interests. We have not been given the opportunity to appoint someone to this committee, and I do feel the Board of Health should have time to review and change their appointment if they wish. More broadly, the bylaw may warrant future review to determine whether the Board of Health's role is adequately defined and whether responsibility for protecting public health is matched by significant authority within the permitting process. While I am not trying to hold up the permitting process, I hope the Select Board can review this and help us, as the Board of Health, determine the best path forward that empowers us to do our role in protecting the public health. Thank you for considering this and reviewing it further. Gargi. So again, this is Gargi's request. As the chair, they have not discussed as the Board of Health. I know, Joe, you and I had chatted briefly about there is a Board of Health appointee right now, but you also have an open seat.
Yes.
So we could just, if it's the recommendation of the Board of Health to put somebody else on, that's fine for the Board of Health. We can shift the current member to the open seat. If that is your recommendation in the next meeting, we can put that.
It is mine. I'm fully supportive of the Board of Health having a more direct line of communication with the ERAC. I think it's a little premature to talk about, what formal role the Board of Health might have. I mean, it really is going to take a bylaw change to do that, so that's a little premature, and I definitely have thoughts about that. But John is the Board of Health appointee to ERAC. He's willing to resign that position and reapply.
I'm sure we have his application somewhere.
To ERAC to fill the seat that is currently unopened, which is a select board appointed seat. So we're happy to execute that as early as the 17th.
Okay.
And the Board of Health can, I know they're meeting on the 11th, and they may, well, they can plan whichever
Sure.
way they would like to plan in that regard. So I do recognize the value of the Board of Health input into the issues that we deal with, but I also would point out that this permit is 17 pages long. It's got 36 different sections and a couple of paragraphs. We can debate which are pertinent to the Board of Health and which are not, but I would rather have see them having greater input than to set up a circumstance where two bodies are approving our permit. That just sets up conflict. That's not good policy. That's not good government. So, so I'm all in favor of greater input by the Board of Health. And I will also mention that George Allen has circulated his comments after having read our permit, and I think those are relevant, and over the course of time would like to bring those up at our meetings and use it as a prompt to really reevaluate our entire approach to dust management and dust testing, to really talk about what are our goals here, and the way we've got it set up now, is that the best way to achieve them? And so that's going to be on the agenda for ERAC as well, and I'm certain the Board of Health will be a big part of that discussion.
The permit allows for us to tweak the permit at any point during the year, right? So
Sure does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that just means that on the 17th, all we have to do is appoint, when John resigns, we just have to make sure on the 17th we reappoint John.
Yep, and then that the Board of Health comes forward with a recommendation for their appointee so that we can make sure that they're represented, right?
Yeah, theirs would just go in there.
Yep, and then
We don't have to approve, we don't approve that.
I would have to look into it if we approve it or not. The Board of Health appointee.
Yeah,
we-
no.
No, they just put them on.
Yep.
Okay. So I think what we should just be thoughtful about is Amrise applied for this permit back in March, and you guys have been having ongoing discussions. And now we have some subject matter experts who are appointed to the Board of Health, which is fantastic, and we want to move in a direction of understanding and making sure that some of these things are, taken care of where they can be. But I guess the way we want to understand the appetite of the board, whether that needs to happen before the 17th or if that can happen over time, because I think we want to set up all these partners for success here and understanding what the direction is.
Can you just clarify if what needs to happen before the 17th? Or next?
So there's some comments, so there's comments from Gargi about sort of the whole concept of how the Board of Health interplays with the permit. Like, is the expectation of the board that they're going to have figured out? I don't think it can, because the bylaw says what the bylaw says.
I can just suggest from my many years of participation as a planning board liaison to ERAC, I cannot imagine these issues will be worked out before the 17th, even if everybody wanted them to.
Correct.
So let's not put ourselves in a position of failing and not meeting our permit deadlines, where we can edit this in the future as the bylaw dictates.
So I'd like to give Mr. Allen an opportunity to speak on behalf.
Yep, I will open public comment just after we ask questions, if anybody had any.
Well, I think so. Some of my questions are going to be pertinent relative to his comments,
Okay.
Relative to some of the technical pieces of it. I think he's. I'm not looking to hold up the resolution to issue the permit. However, he has pointed out some flaws, particularly in paragraphs 5 and 6, that I have to agree that need some investigation. And I'm willing, per if allowed for him to speak,
Yeah.
to comment on that after.
Okay, great.
I'd like to know what the history is in terms of participation from the Board of Health prior. Is this is entirely a new recommendation? Am I understanding that correctly?
Chris answered that. Chris has historical knowledge.
I will say, if you're addressing it, I will say that I am not receptive at all at making changes to the way the test studies are done now or the reports are done now. I think it requires more than just a discussion tonight. I think it needs a thorough discussion at the committee level, not at the select board level at this point. And so even if there was an expression of making changes, I would advise against it because we really need to look at it more deeply. I mean, Mr. Allen's comments are substantive, and I don't think they can be resolved by hearing a public comment.
Sure. Can you explain the history of the Board of Health
Involvement in
its
ERAC?
relationship in the permit
right.
from prior years?
I'm sorry, say again?
The relationship with the Board of Health in prior years with the permit process?
Has there been any? Is this a new suggestion?
You can, yes. Tony, would you mind sharing the mic down a little bit and you and share one? Thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm having trouble understanding what she's saying.
Hi, Chris Drukas, been represented as I said, the quarry under the earth removal bylaw since 1994 when it first came into existence. And at that time, the town had a different charter than it has now. And it was the exclusive, under that charter, it was the exclusive jurisdiction when regulating noise was given. It was an unusual situation, but it was regulation of noise, sound, was strictly the Board of Health's purview. Wasn't the selectmen's purview, wasn't anybody else's purview. That was also consistent with state law at the time. I think it's still pretty consistent with state law. So, and back then, there was supposed to be a member of the Board of Health on the ERAC for the purpose of overseeing that. And then it was also because of their jurisdiction, we decided at that point in time that they should have the opportunity, especially where they had a member on the ERAC, to look at the permit and then sign off on it. So since 1994, they've been signatories. Over the years, they lost interest or felt comfortable with the way that it was being handled, and it became more pro forma than anything else. But that's the history of it. That's why they're there. And I'm not sure that there's any need to do anything other than maybe get one of their members back on the ERAC, and let's work on this through the next permit, because we've come so far, and we don't have a lot of time to get this permit done.
Right.
And I think that the testing that is done every year to a certain degree, and particularly now under the present permit of the 3 times that will happen this year, I think will put everybody's fears to rest.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that background.
I have a question.
ahead.
Is there anything, so it sounds like there's nothing in the charter that mandates the Board of Health is involved in the permit. There's nothing in our bylaws, and there's nothing statutorily in Mass General-
Statutorily, yeah, they still have power to regulate
To
sound.
regulate noise.
Noise.
Just noise, not.
Noise.
Okay.
Tony, please.
You know, I think everyone has seen George's comments. I think we're, having him go over them again, it just doesn't seem, it seems better to have a discussion within the advisory committee, because I think what I'd like to hear is Amrise's response to that, and not just Amrise, but their consultant who's actually doing the testing. Because, tonight we would only hear one side. We're not going to hear the testers. So I think that's best taken Did I hit you?
No, close. Close.
That's best within the committee.
Yeah, I'd also point out that the next testing period is July 1st to August 30th. So the next time a test takes place, so there is some time.
Okay, so what I would like to do is open for public comment. So obviously the public's allowed to come up and speak. I know we have one individual who already came up, so I will welcome her first, if she wouldn't mind.
Well, I agree with Wayne that
Well, could you just come to the mic, just because the recording needs to capture all the things that you are saying for folks at home, if you don't mind.
Once again, I'm Celia Marvash. I live at 19 Essex Street. I agree with Wayne. I would like to hear what George Allen has to say, because that might cover my question, and I think it's really important. The other thing that Mr. Drugas said, I think it was reflecting on that 3 times a year monitoring the air pollution at the quarry is totally inadequate. It doesn't follow the EPA regs. 3 days a year tells you what's happening on those 3 days only, and it leaves out almost 350 other days when we don't know what's happening. So the methodology is really flawed, and I think that's the important thing we need to talk about, and that's what Mr. Allen is going to be referring to. So my question, he might cover my question, so if it's okay, I'll wait to hear him speak, if you allow that.
Would anybody else like to rise for public comment? Okay. I mean, if you want to make public comment.
Well, if they're not going to be opened up.
Anybody online?
Public comment period, I'll just do a quick statement right now. Just,
Okay.
yeah, just let people, give them a little better idea. Can you make sure the microphone's on? Yeah, we really couldn't hear or smell you much. It's sort of here. I talk loud, but it is a little low.
You just have to be closer to it, I think.
I'll talk loud. Okay, I can do that. George Allen, 27 Bayview Ave. I'd like to talk about some comments on the air monitoring issues of concern that are in the draft quarry earth removal permit. But first, a disclaimer: I am a Board of Health member, but these comments do not necessarily reflect the position of the Swampscott Board of Health. Second, a little bit about me. I am the chief scientist at a nonprofit environmental organization in Boston. I've been doing air pollution research for more than 40 years, and I've served on multiple EPA scientific advisory committees for the review of air pollution standards, including PM10, over the last 20 years. Jeff Vaughn of the Health Department forwarded me the 2 quarry monitoring reports for my review last month, the 2 from 2025. The Board of Health met briefly to discuss this at the 5/14 meeting, but we did not take any action. The topic was just brought up. By the way, the next meeting, the 11th, has been pushed back. The Board of Health meeting is now on the 16th. That's Tuesday, 1 day before your next meeting. So we do hope to be able to get together before then, but it's now scheduled for tentatively for the 16th on the Board of Health. So anyhow, I've reviewed the 2 most recent quarry monitoring reports and the current draft IRAC permit for the quarry operations starting July 1. The permit includes specifications and limits for air pollution monitoring in sections 3, 4, and 6, specifically for PM10 and for crystalline silica, which is a component of PM10. The issue, as I see it, is that the sampling required by the existing permit and that was performed in 2025 is insufficient to be used for comparison to and determine compliance with health-based standards for PM10 or crystalline silica. Those words are very carefully chosen. But this does not mean there is a health hazard due to quarry activities. I want to stress that. It means we do not have sufficient data to demonstrate that there are no health hazards from quarry activities. I will leave it there. The rest of the material is in the letter that I sent around, and most of you have. But if you have any questions, I'm up there. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional public comment, please? If you wouldn't mind just speaking closer to the mic, that might help too.
I have a question about part of what I read in the report, and it's about the per-client request to put constraints on what's being measured. And to me, from what I understand about air pollution, which I'm trying to understand for the last 20 years, is that the constraint is leaving out a lot of particle sizes that we want to be measured in these reports. So it makes me really curious about why this per-client request was made. Thanks.
What section of the permit was that, if you wouldn't mind?
I didn't get that.
Okay.
It's in George's paper. It's on, I think it's number 6.
Okay.
Can we have George's paper added into the minutes?
We can, yes.
Is that okay with you, George?
Yeah, that's fine. And the section that's really referring to is the last paragraph in mine.
It's by the.
Okay. So
Is it worth having him just read it so everyone's on the same page? No?
No.
Okay.
I think, okay, so the suggestion I would make at this point is twofold. One, I think the topic is important and needs to be vetted and discussed. And 2, we worked very hard to get our relationship back with our quarry members, and ERAC has been doing a great job. We settled litigation. They've come forward and shown up in ways that we've requested for blasting and other conditions that have been part of the permit. That is not to say that we can't put forth other conditions to the permit. That's not to say we're not committed to do that. But I do think there's a process in place to do that, and unless my board members sort of disagree, I think it's best to have the Board of Health member appointed to the ERAC committee, to have conversations happen within committee, and then for the committee to come forward with suggestions, because I am not well-versed in sound pollution.
No.
And I am not even as well-versed in all of the relationships that have been cultivated over the years involving all of the different provisions of this permit. So every conversation is a negotiation, a give and take, and I think we have to have this conversation amongst the committee first and then come forward with a suggestion. That doesn't sound like that's going to happen by the 17th, but as Mary Ellen already stated, we have the ability to come to a mutual understanding and propose any conditions to the permit going forward under provisions of the permit. So I feel like I want to get it right. I understand, Wayne's hesitation to approve something that doesn't feel totally.
Well, no, to be clear, I'm not hesitant about approving it. I just want to reserve the right
Sure.
to go back and revisit this, and that it's an active conversation that's happening.
Great.
That's
So
all.
I think we're in agreement. But does that seem like a fair request?
It does. I mean, I have full faith in ERAC as well as the Board of Health to listen to all the concerns and really gauge what the best path forward is. I don't really think it's in our best interest to try to adjudicate that. I leave that to the committees. I have full faith in that. And I also don't want to delay our permit situation, based on the fact that we can certainly make changes or edits at any point if the committees deem that necessary and want to recommend that to us, so.
What I would suggest or put out for the board and your boards to consider and analyze, you have your testing starting in July. That testing period is July through September?
End of August.
July through August, okay. So maybe spend the summer when you have a new Board of Health liaison on there having some of these conversations, and then we can find a time after that to just get an update from how those conversations are, and just to ensure that we're all working together on the same page, at least for how things are progressing.
Well, my intent is to call a meeting of ERAC soon after the 17th. There were some other matters that we have to address, but George's comments will be on that agenda.
Great.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a process question?
Please.
This is both, I think, involves the Select Board as well as the Board of Health and ERAC.
Sure.
So if according to the permit, notices are given to the Board of Health before testing, the reports and analyses are forwarded to the Board of Health. Is the Board of Health a documentarian only, or does the Board of Health have to technically accept a report?
No, they don't have any authority.
You have to read it on its face.
Okay.
Board of Health receives reports, it receives analysis. There's nothing in there that says they have to review it. There's nothing in there that says they have to approve it. It says what it says, that they receive it. And I would say that now that, if in the future they have one of their members on ERAC, whatever concerns the Board of Health has, they're gonna funnel back to ERAC.
Okay.
And so it's not that they don't have input, but I just will resist any terminology that suggests that the Board of Health has authority to veto our reports and our recommendations. Because if you do that, then it becomes a Board of Health
Well, it would need a
permit and not
bylaw.
ours.
Right.
You would need a
That's how the
bylaw,
bylaw-
you need a bylaw
Precedent
change in
that
order to
has
do
never been
that,
set
so
before.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's entertaining that.
Okay.
I think also we should try this path forward first before we even consider that. Like everybody seems very open to the Board of Health feedback, and if ERAC is on the same page as the Board of Health, then there shouldn't be an issue as to facilitating some of the recommendations. So let's just see where we get before we sort of make hay where there isn't. So,
Yeah, this could all be resolved through some of the conversations we
Right.
all have together, and
right,
this
which
could
is
be
why
an
we're
issue.
not the best
Yeah.
board to try to
Completely.
This will
litigate
work.
that here. So
No.
we leave it to you in your good hands. And if there are changes that you all agree should be made before the 17th, then we will consider those. But it sounds like that might be difficult if Board of Health isn't meeting till the 16th. I wouldn't expect that we would sort of rush around trying to
No.
Right.
facilitate some of that. If we could meet prior, like the 11th seemed like there was a little bit more space, but I think the 16th is not plausible.
I think it's going to take more than one meeting of ERAC to
course.
sort out these
Agreed.
issues.
Sure.
So it's really going to be, there will be opportunity to make changes if the board seeks to do that.
Okay.
Great.
I have some questions outside of this. Where do we stand as far as with neighbors being able to get surveys and complaints from neighbors? Do we have any data as far as how many complaints the fire department has received, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, that question has been asked. John usually is more involved with the complaints. And John, are you aware of any?
I am not.
Okay.
And if there is any, I usually get a phone call to try to resolve the issue, answer questions. But recently, specifically this year, the blasts have been pretty reasonable, even well below the limits that we've set in the permit. So I don't know if Essex Street residents will be affected from their blast this summer, because they're on the Danvers Road side this year. That affects the Essex Street people as much more than anybody else further out. You're not going to hear from Nichols Street, you're not going to hear from Carson Terrace. It's going to be Essex Street and the neighborhoods abutting that are going to be affected. I expect, if there is any complaints, I expect to be heard.
So if I'm a neighbor, if I'm living on Nichols or Essex or Sampson, somewhere like very close there, and we go and we approve this new permit, how do I go about making sure that the quarry comes in and, I don't know, you do a survey or a video? How do I know that I have access to this, and do I have to do this every single year? How does that, how do we get that out to people?
My recollection is that last year, we sent out, or you guys sent out, a letter to all of the abutters. We have an abutters list. There's also a radius of 300 yards, I think, or something that's listed as all abutters within, and reminded people that they're entitled to a video survey of the interior and their exterior of their homes. I don't think we had many takers. I don't know.
No, and there's a record of it.
Right.
We get it back from the company Precise that performs blast surveys.
Do you send that out again as the permit gets renewed?
So, yes, it goes out to everyone that he just said. So all of the abutters, anyone within 300 feet, and they can respond.
Okay.
And in fact, then
And that's
if there's
annual.
no response, they go and they go door to door, and they knock on all the doors that are abutters or within 300 feet of the property line.
What's the time frame on when you do this?
We did this last spring.
It's February is usually
Even earlier.
when the notification goes out, and then the surveys are done
But you're blasting during the summer, right?
during summer. Yes.
Right, so you're blasting during the summer, we're gonna approve this now, so I'm just thinking if people that live within that 300 yards, can we get that request out or that information out right away so they get it?
I believe that is part of the it's in the
It is in
permit
the permit,
application. Everyone who responded and everyone who got a pre-blast survey is included in the application.
Right, but here's my issue, is what happens if somebody was away, or they weren't paying attention, or their spouse didn't give them, and they didn't take advantage of that? Now we have a new permit. How do they take advantage of
Well,
it?
even if they did have visible damage, they have to fill out forms. They have to report to the fire department.
Right.
The AMRISE has to provide blast data from the date that was talked about. So that data is collected, it's reviewed internally by us, by AMRISE, by the fire department. But the claims that the resident is making is not against the town, it's against an insurance company, and the town is out of it. You know,
I understand that. Well, the town's really not out of it, because we sit here and we take the phone calls. So my concern is, if I screwed up and I didn't get that survey on my house, and all of a sudden you're blasting through the summer, how am I protected?
I don't think you are.
So, well, you could still file a claim without a survey.
Correct. Right.
So you are protected. So there is no prerequisite to have a video survey done in order to make a claim.
Right.
That's the
But
first
what are the
thing.
chances? What are the chances that?
Right, that is good, but I'm just my layman's opinion, you know, I mean, I haven't practiced law in a long time, but if there's not visible evidence, an insurance company, you know how they operate, the insurance company's gonna
I
balk
think we
at
had
it.
the data when we were going through this
No,
conversation last year and the year before. Very few claims get paid. Very
That's
few
why it's
claims come to fruition. So
That's the problem.
Well, so we talked about 2 years ago ways in order to try to facilitate a better claims process or something like that. That's comes up as part of conversation every year with I don't know if it came up this year with Iraq, but we have talked about it in years past. And is the expectation that, what would you like the expectation to be that would be more direct for Iraq to be able to facilitate something? So are you looking for notification to occur seasonally? Are you looking for?
I would like that people within that neighborhood, within that area, have the opportunity to have what is the name of that?
Pre-blast.
Pre-blast survey done, you know.
We'll
If
send
they could
out
have it
letters
done
again.
now, if they could have it done now, and then at least they have the pre-blast survey, and if, God forbid, something happens, they have that as.
Go ahead.
So, just to clarify, what the pre-blast survey actually does, so if you ask for it, someone comes out and they look and said, oh, there's damage here, there's damage here. It's all taken down and put in a report. So once it's there, the next year, you don't need another pre-blast survey. It's not, what would happen if you had a complaint saying, hey, I had damage this year. Okay, then you go to the fire department, you fill out an FP 296, and then there's a process that gets followed through. And as Joe said, this is an insurance issue. So it doesn't go through AMRISE, it doesn't go through the town, it goes through the insurance company for the third-party blasting company that we use. So that's how that process works. So someone who gets a pre-blast survey, you don't need one every year. And most of the residents have had one, they don't ask for it again. Typically, this is for new residents, people new in town, that kind of thing. And you don't, frankly, need the pre-blast survey till file an FP 296.
Right, but a pre-blast survey, if it shows that my living room is intact, and you take video of my living room, and then all of a sudden you have some days where you're blasting away, and I have a crack going across my ceiling, I'm put in a better position of getting that fixed, so.
Well,
So all I'm asking for is have people, people within that area have the opportunity, if they want that pre-blast survey, have an opportunity to get it.
If somebody were to approach you at any point during the year and request a pre-blast survey, would
Yes.
you ever say no?
Good.
Correct, I would
Okay,
never say no.
perfect.
we
Thank
go.
you.
We're there.
Please.
Letting me comment again. I'd like to tell you what a neighbor told me. A few weeks ago, I was up walking around Nichols Street and all the streets that border the quarry. I was passing out flyers to try to help get the purple air monitors, because we need some that are closer to the quarry than like at the train station, the high school, et cetera. And I talked to a neighbor who told me that she had had her kitchen renovated, and not long after that, she had a crack going down the ceiling, and her insurance company told her that she would have had to have been home looking at that wall when the crack happened in order to be paid. So I think the people that live around the quarry, they've just been disappointed in everything. I think some of them have just stopped making comments. They've just kind of given up. And if that's what's required, if a blast, to connect a blast to a crack in a home, who's going to be standing watching their wall when the blasts are occurring?
Right.
So that's just what I wanted to tell you, was what that neighbor told me.
Thank you.
I have a quick question about, on the permit, the abutters list is from 2022. Is that stay actively updated with the town and with Amrise?
Yes, we update the list based on, yes, the list is updated based on the assessors data. And then we also have, this year, we end up using the list that was provided to us by Amrise of the abutters, and then we also went out past 300 feet away from the edge of the quarry.
Okay, my comment is only relative to the notation that was on the permit that says, Swampscott abutters list from 4/7/22. That's why the premise of my question.
So that was included in the application, but in practice, what we did is we used the current data from the assessor's office to notify all of the abutters.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcy. Okay, so are there any additional questions we want to ask of URAC or Amrise before we? Okay, so seeing none, we will see you guys back in 2 weeks, and appreciate, you guys need to close out your meeting, and we'll close the public meeting. But if there's anything else that comes up, you can facilitate it through the town administrator to facilitate to us before then.
Okay.
Okay?
Close the meeting? All in favor? Yeah, done.
I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your hard work.
Oh, I want to continue,
We
yes,
didn't-
we're going to post a new public, you want to continue it, or do you want to?
No, let's continue it.
Okay, so I'll rescind the motion and ask for a revised motion to continue the public hearing to the 17th. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. So moved to-
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we have just continued the public hearing, so we don't have to renotice it.
There we go.
Thank
Save the
goodness for
couple hours.
Chris.
All right, we did the same.
Okay, I will now move on to the public hearing for the liquor license for Swampscott Center for Performing Arts. So I will take a motion to open the public hearing for Mary Ellen is the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. Ted, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we are now opening the public hearing for the liquor license. This is the first hearing of the liquor license. So, Marzi, do you want to give a little, or?
Nick, were you prepared to go? Oh, okay. Yes, it's my pleasure to speak or be here this evening to present to you an application from John for the Swampscott Performing Arts Center, at Hawthorne, the former Hawthorne Restaurant at, apologize, hold on, Humphrey Street, and the applicant is John Nicastro. He is here in the audience today, so if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address them. The applicant is seeking an all-alcohol license to be for the premises for the hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
It's 11 a.m. to
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
So Monday, 7 days a week.
Okay. Marzi, do you know the details of the Hawthorne, the license they held? Like the hours of operation, and they had an all-alcohol license also?
Yes, when Hawthorne was operating their alcohol, the hours of operations were Monday through Thursday from 11:30 to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 11:30 to 11 p.m., and Sunday from 12 to 10 p.m. But I also would like to point out to you that the adjacent businesses, such as the Mission on the Bay, their liquor license is until 1 a.m.
Till 1 a.m. all nights?
Yep. Oh.
I believe Sam Walker's is as well, I believe.
Yep, Monday through Sunday, 11 to 1.
This printout that you all have,
Yep,
we
this
didn't
blue
include it in
one.
the packet, but we put it together, or pulled it from a previous presentation over the weekend.
So Mission on the Bay, Sam Walker's, the dock side.
I know.
So we're just looking at making everything equal?
That seems to be the greatest. Yep, the yacht club is also till 1 a.m.
Whoa.
Alrighty. Ellen.
We're gonna run over that.
Oh, all right. I know the applicant is here. Did you want to speak? Did you want to say anything? You're good?
I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Very good, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant or Marzi?
So wait, just to repeat, what was the hours again? I apologize. I was.
11 a.m. till 1 p.
1 a.m.
11 a.m.
Yes,
to
thank you.
1 a.m.
Thank you.
Monday through Sunday, which is, like Marzi said, parallel to Mission.
Yep, I got this.
Okay.
Yep.
So this isn't a renewal, this is a new one?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct. This is a new applicant and a new all alcohol license.
So because it's already been there, can we just vote on this tonight?
I mean, we typically,
We typically do, but I think the reason I'm asking, because it's not new.
What do you mean it's?
I mean,
Well, it is new. I mean, it
entirely
was
new.
not entertainment at that.
There were, because there was a liquor license there before.
But there was.
I'm good with whatever you want to do, I'm just bringing it up, that's all.
listen, even when we have liquor licenses which exist and we renew, we still listen to them twice because we allow for the public to come forth and have opinions about it.
Right.
There is no public here tonight to comment on it, so I would think in the spirit of
Sounds good.
maybe what you've said in the past, it's
Right.
important to allow for the public to come forward and have an opportunity to speak on it, unless there is some other urgency.
So to be clear, there's two different things. There's a liquor license and the entertainment license separate.
There are three things.
There are three things. There's a common vitulers license, there's an entertainment license, and there's a liquor license. The public hearing is only in regard to the liquor license, so that's all we're discussing right now, and then we'll move on to the other licenses.
Thank you.
And just to highlight, even though there's no one physically here, we did do notification.
Great.
Contacted the
Thank you.
300 feet, and that was, all done according to process.
Thank you.
Notice was
May I
posted
make a
in one
comment?
item as well.
The only urgency that I see is just that the ABC is so backed up, and we're trying to get open as soon as possible.
Okay.
So that's the only urgency that I see, is just that we just want to get open as soon as we can.
Sure.
Marcy, I have a question for you. I have heard from other folks that I've done business with, there's a significant backlog at the ABCC. Do you know from your experience what that timeline is like?
It really depends. We did reach out to our contact at the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission. They couldn't really give us a sense. It's a week by week, day by day, depending how many visits they're able to do, site visits and others. I can tell you that the board has approved the all alcohol package license alcohol for the Ridgedale location.
Yep.
And they approved it within like 2 or 3 weeks' time. But that was also an existing, that was only a change in.
That was a change in license.
change in license.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a little bit quicker, but I don't have a good sense in terms of how soon that will be turned around.
What has it typically been? 4
Sometimes
to
it could
6?
take up to a month.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But okay, two things. One, can we leverage some of our state relationships to figure out, to make sure that there are not Swampscott businesses like sitting in queue? Like, is there any?
We can reach out to our elected officials. It's the
Right.
type of thing that may or may not make
Sure.
it move, but we'll absolutely
But
be
we-
happy to call.
Okay.
But right now, we don't have any pending licenses yet with the.
Right,
alcohol.
just
We soon will.
this one.
Yeah.
What is the proposed date that you would like to open? I know it's probably
We plan
tomorrow.
on having an open house on July 3rd, no matter what.
Okay.
Just to invite the town and the community to come and see what's going on. Whether the license is approved or not, we want to just be open on the 3rd. So
Okay.
people can see what's happening.
Is it possible to have a special Zoom meeting
For what?
for this liquor license, for a second hearing?
Yes, it is possible. We can talk about that.
I think given the fact that we are it's a unique property, right? I mean, they're tenants of ours, and it's a tight timeline that we've given them. I think I'm open to that conversation.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the public understands,
Yes.
so that they can come forward and have thoughts and opinions, just like they have for all other instances.
Completely.
So, I don't just want to change the standard at,
I'm in complete agreement with you on that.
yeah. So we can consider that post this meeting, rather than approving now.
So again, since this was a public hearing, if you could continue to a date certain and a time certain, then this way we don't have to re-advertise it, because it's an issue, it's a public hearing.
Okay. Let me think on that. Can we, okay. Well, what if we did, what do folks think about a week from today, coming back to consider it? That gives them a whole nother week's time, and we can still make sure that the public has adequate notice. And that would be a week faster than waiting to the 17th.
Sounds good.
I mean, I honestly, the public knew about this, right? I mean, they had it was publicly posted. I mean, in fairness, I don't want to hold up something just on procedural, because it's what we've done prior, right? Because they do have a chance. They could be here, they could be online. You know, I don't want to negatively affect a business because of that.
Yeah, I just worry that somebody would be expecting a second meeting, so they're like, oh, I'm not gonna come to the first meeting because they always hear things twice, and if they, I mean, I know it's a slim chance, but I'm just saying, like,
Right.
that's
Yeah, I think
possible, and so at least having a second opportunity for somebody to come forward, even if we accelerated it to the beginning of that week, we would have to post, you know, like, if we had it on the 8th, we'd have to post by tomorrow, correct? So we could even do it Monday, which would be like an additional 5 days for the public to come forward if they wanted to. It would just afford the additional opportunity.
Is there anybody online for public comment?
No.
There's
No.
not,
No
there's
one
no
has
hands
raised their
raised.
Oh, okay.
Although I normally can see all the people's names.
Yeah.
I'm
Not tonight.
not judging, but Shannon makes it happen.
Yeah.
Shannon isn't here.
Joe's not here either, so. No,
So we're blaming
could be
Joe?
anyone. Just kidding.
We don't want to do that. Our sound's going to cut out.
All right, so what are we looking at? Are we
all right,
looking at
so-
meeting Monday or
Hold on.
Wednesday?
What do you guys think about Monday? Are folks free on Monday, the 8th?
No.
No. How about,
No.
Well,
how about, what?
if it's only this, couldn't we
If it's-
schedule around, are you talking about the SWAC meeting? Yeah, so there's just one other, that starts at 6:30? Is that right?
5:15.
Or 5 to 6:45, is that what it is?
5:15, 5:30 to 6:37.
6:37, that's very precise. You mean
Because till how long it goes.
6:30/7, not 6:37.
No, he
it
means
starts at
6:30.
5:15, it'll go for about
Yes.
an hour, hour and a half.
Okay,
So it's not
so
gonna
we
end
could
at
have it, if it starts at
6:37,
5:15, we can have it at 5 if people are available. It's a Zoom, it should be
Yeah, I
pretty
can do 5.
quick and
Okay.
painless.
We'll have a Zoom
We can get on
option.
the phone with our state officials now and just say there's a possibility that we might need some help.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be happy to make a call. ABCC is just not one of the most,
No, receptive at all.
yeah,
So.
it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
Sure,
I
yeah, we
just don't want to
should-
promise that the effort will bear fruit.
Even if it's
Is there anything unique about this?
ceremonial.
Is there anything unique about this application
No.
compared to anything else that we would expect?
No.
No.
'Cause, I mean, it's the same facility, it's the same premises.
I mean, of course, there's, the only thing, like anything, right, like Mission, is the noise concern, right, for any
Which
abutters.
is the next.
That's the
Anybody-
entertainment,
That's the
that comes under
entertainment
entertainment.
Yes,
mean,
because I agree.
That's really the, main.
Is it just the one bar and then table service, or are you opening a second location for a bar in the
Just the
building?
one bar.
Okay,
So it'll be the service bar and the actual sit at the bar and consumption bar?
Exactly, yeah. There'll be a service bar.
okay.
And people can walk around with the drinks throughout the premises, or are they, like, to the comedy club, to the other things we see in your entertainment?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, so then I guess the motion would be to continue the public hearing to June 8th at 5 o'clock, Monday, June 8th at 5 o'clock, and we will post a
Virtual meeting.
agenda for that.
Out of curiosity, will we have a quorum? I may not be able to be there at the 5th, which is fine if there's 4 other members that can be there.
I can be there at
I
5.
can.
Okay.
We're going to be there at 5.
On Zoom?
Mary Ellen, you can be there at
Yeah.
5?
Correct, it'll be
Yeah,
virtual.
Virtual,
am,
yes,
it's
because I'll have
virtual,
to
so I
take
can
it
stop.
from Waltham, so.
Yeah.
For that time frame.
Okay.
Okay, so that's great. So let's do that. That way we can still honor the public's ability to come forward if they want, and we can try to expedite this process for you.
Mhm.
You asked for the motion.
I asked for a motion. Does somebody want to make it?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Nick, for keeping us on task. All right, so this is tabled until 6/8. We will now move on to a discussion and possible vote of the common victualer's license. Again, for our Center for Performing Arts.
Marzie?
I'm sorry, no, I was just going to say, similar to the request for the liquor license hours, the hours of operation would be from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., and again, Monday through Sunday.
And this is in line, the license for, that was the prior holder's license wasn't quite as late, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Theirs was until 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, as well as Monday through Thursday, 11:30 till 10, and Saturday from 12 to 10.
Okay, and this aligns though with Mission right next door. so
Mission has the same hours on theirs.
They're 11 to 1,
On the
right?
Vic.
That's correct.
Yep, they have to be their alcoholic, their alcohol license goes to them, so.
Right. Oh, right.
So again, I would suggest, if there's any public comment on any of this, we table this to that meeting and if we choose to support to vote in favor, that we do it at the 8th, rather than, unless there are any additional questions, or if you guys want to approve it now.
I just have, I know, I'm trying to think how to ask this question. There's multiple businesses within the business.
Right.
Do they have to be individually identified, or are they all under the Swampscott for the Performing Arts umbrella?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Me either.
Yes, well, so
They're
there's a couple things.
subleases, they're sublets.
What's in front of you is a common victualer's license, that's what we're talking about. Common victualer's applies to a facility or establishment that offers seating and provides food service or something. So it is my understanding that Maria's Catering or the
Maria's Gourmet.
the lease of the space of the former fish market, they will not be seating there. So therefore, that does not apply. So this is strictly in regards to the operations of the Dory Restaurant, or I'm not sure what
Okay.
you want to call it.
Or the comedy.
That's the clarification I was looking for. So if Maria's comes in, they would be applying for their own?
Well, they wouldn't have seating, so they would not be applying for a common
Oh,
victual.
that's the
They would
key.
just
Seating.
need Board of Health permitting. And then the reason is that, like obviously, in order for them to seek a common victualer's license, there'll be other issues such as bathroom compliance and some other Board of Health issues, as well as building standards.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the temperature on holding this to the 8th or voting on it?
I don't know why we wouldn't just vote on it.
Okay,
I don't-
so make a motion. Let's do it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. On to the entertainment license. So the entertainment license, Marzie, you want to give a little rundown?
Absolutely, yes. So once again, Mr. Nicastro is seeking an entertainment license to be able to offer entertainment such as live bands, up to 6 musicians, comedy, solo artists such as piano players, perhaps singing, as well as maybe trivia nights and other entertainment venues. And the hours are consistent with the other request, being 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., Monday through Sunday.
On the application, in the application I originally looked at, like, things were not checked off, like TVs.
So I think, I'm not
Were
sure,
those checked off
this year
now?
the application was a little bit different, that we requested that the applicant write in what was being offered in there. I think remember how we had the older application in the past? The new one just kind of asked the applicants to write things in. So I hope that you.
So it just says types of entertainment and you fill it out. So this does not approve a television if there are TVs.
Mary Ellen, I saw what you're looking at too, and I
Check
can't
if
figure out where I
applicable.
Front page.
Yeah, no.
Right, so it doesn't matter.
License. So this, hold on. This is the former,
Oh, yes,
the old
yes.
version.
So that
The
should
old
be, checked off. So I apologize for that, sorry, I thought you meant the,
I think they are checked off and they match what's at the back, but Mary Ellen highlighted television is not included, so there will not be televisions?
No, there will be TVs.
So we want to check that?
Yes, please.
Why don't we hold this one to Monday and we can get a revised version and circulate?
Right, because I think you want to check off
Basically.
trivia.
everything.
Everything, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
This way
Yeah.
you're protected.
Sure.
I do have one concern, just because the way that noise travels on the water is unpredictable sometimes, right? The wind blows and all of a sudden it's literally the band's in somebody's living room. And I want to make sure that, number one, we acknowledge that, and number two, I understand that you might have the back porch open for seating, and I just worry if music is being played by a live band that sound can travel aggressively, and at midnight, that can be a lot for the neighbors. So is there a consideration like that? Have you thought about that? How would you manage it?
Fortunately, this is one of the areas of that I'm experienced in. So we are very lucky to have a building like that. It was built, it's very acoustically sound, and especially being encased in so much glass and with the rugs on the floor and the acoustic ceiling tiles. So you're really not going to have a lot of noise penetrating outside of the building. And if and we would close those doors if there was ever entertainment.
Perfect.
At the same time. We have to do the same thing at the Beacon. There's a certain time of night, probably around 9:30 or 10 a.m., where we close all the doors that are to the patio or to the front of the street, just to be considerate to the neighbors.
So we had a serious issue with one of the vendors on Humphrey Street years ago when they opened up, and it took a lot of work and negotiations to get things reeled in. And basically, the rule of thumb is your music stays in your building and it's not on the sidewalk. And that vendor has done a great job of being compliant with that rule. So I just want to make sure that this entertainment license reflects that this is your entertainment in your building.
Right.
And not for everyone
Outside
outside.
public consumption.
We'll do that.
Including the little fishies or whoever's.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's fine.
Okay, so we will table this until the 8th. I'll put it on that agenda also, just so we can make sure that we're getting the clearest version of what you're looking for approval for. And you'll-
I do have a question.
Oh, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Wayne.
Just because, I'm less familiar with the process itself, so beg me the lack of prior knowledge. But is there some quantitative way to measure noise as opposed to, it's too loud, or,
Decibel meter.
Yeah.
You stand on the sidewalk if you hear that
Well,
band, it's too loud.
We have a noise bylaw.
We have a noise bylaw that we have to follow, but that bylaw, the standards in that bylaw need to be adjusted as it's been brought forward, and it should be hopefully in the fall warrant. So whether or not from now till that
Is there anything we should set expectations for this gentleman?
I hope we just did.
Yeah.
I think he's picking up what we're putting down.
We can
Wayne.
put that right
No
in.
problem. I've had to work in places that use decibel meters. So during a sound check, there would be an engineer in the audience holding a decibel meter, and then the engineer would conform to what they recommended. So, I mean, it is a legitimate concern. So hopefully we have musicians that are professional enough to work within those guidelines. I think most of the time we will. That's the kind of entertainment that we're seeking, and we'll definitely have managers on site to make sure it's regulated.
Great.
So,
One other question I see, and we're talking about the difference between the front page and the back. One says up to 6 musicians, the other one says max of 3 instruments plus vocals. So
So we're going to have that rectified.
we'll have that rectified as well.
We'll get a revised license for
Just
you all.
noting
looking
the
at. Absolutely.
differentiation, that's all.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
What date
Sure.
did you say you're opening?
He says the 3rd of July is going to be open.
we're planning on having an open house on July 3rd.
What time?
I'm
I'm
not.
doing a commercial for you.
I know. I'm not sure of the exact time, but I just want people to be able to use the property and see the fireworks and have a good time.
Great.
That's great.
And by then they'll really be able to see the environments that we've created inside.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, looking forward to it. So we'll be back on the 8th for the liquor and the entertainment. Okay,
Thank you very much.
We'll be
Appreciate it.
moving on to the discussion of the town meeting calendar for the fall, please.
Okay, so since I started, we've been sort of running from one thing to the next over the last few months, and we saw an opportunity with getting through town meeting for us to put together a schedule that actually reaches out into the December town meeting all the way to next May. And I worked with Katie DuPont on this to try to formalize something that gives us a little more lead time on both sort of opening, closing the warrants, and then making sure that there's an opportunity for us to put everything together, get it out to town meeting members a little earlier. And so what we have here is a proposal, or a recommendation rather, for when we would like to open and close and then get recommendations from you all looking at this fall. And this is something that if you all are on board, we would be communicating to all the elected and appointed boards, as well as town staff, so everyone is focused on what these dates are and when they should be prepared and when they should be going through the public process as necessary. I would just highlight that this fall we anticipate, and our hope, and this is something we want to do annually going forward, and I've talked to the new moderator about this, I talked to the former moderator about this, really look for the bylaw and zoning changes to be done in the fall, and there's obviously opportunities for this to change if something comes up, but the goal is the fall is bylaws and zoning, the spring is really focused on the budget, so that there's a delineation between the two. There's a focused effort both on the staff side and the elected and appointed board side to be bringing things forward on a semi-regular schedule going forward. If something pops, something needs to be addressed. This is not prohibition, it's just sort of a guideline that we're trying to work within. So the one thing I just want to highlight both in this one certainly is there is right now some conflict between the bylaws and the charter on the dates for the spring town meeting. So the bylaw sets town meeting as being the same day as election day, I believe, and the charter sets it where we have it. The other place where the bylaw is in conflict is on the citizen petition deadline, where that is really tied more to this earlier town meeting date. But we're trying to keep both for this and going forward. Obviously, we're going to be in compliance. Plenty of runway for someone to get a citizen petition together, and because they're both annual town meetings, the threshold to qualify for the warrant is 10 signatures. It doesn't go up to 250, which it would have if it was a special town meeting in the fall. So I just wanted to highlight that, but this is the working schedule that we have, where we'd open at the beginning of September, the idea that it closes at the beginning of October. Then, everything that we'll be well aware, likely by October 7th, what you all are going to be facing in the warrant, but the recommendations, the goal is to have that October 21st meeting be where you all weigh in where possible. There will always be the opportunity for something to get pushed to town meeting and be noted in the warrant that way. But the hope here is that we are, getting printed and out the door at the beginning of November, ahead of getting too close to Thanksgiving or anything like that, and giving everyone plenty of time to deliberate on what they would, how they would like to vote, and any questions they may have. This schedule also gives us an opportunity to do something that I talked to Ryan about a little bit, and I know Mike tried in the past, was potentially doing like a office hours educational opportunity, where myself and the moderator would be available either with a presentation or for a literal just come in and ask any question about anything on there at some point in between. And again, the goal here is to give us just more runway to be doing that and to getting the printed warrant out the door and professionally put together as well.
We used to have a schedule. Every select board member had a time slot alongside the moderator, and we would show up too.
Well, if you're volunteering, then we will make sure we do that.
I think it's important to be publicly engaged in that way.
Right.
So, and especially since a lot of them are select board proposed. It's good to have, or in the fall when the zoning changes come forward, having a representative there who can
Speak to the details.
specifically speak to it.
So the conflict you're talking about is in the general bylaws, which article?
I don't know the article off the top of my head, Wayne, I'm sorry. I can circulate.
It's between the bylaws
And the charter,
Yeah.
correct. And the charter controls.
Right. And so,
the deadlines, I believe, are set in the bylaw for like the citizen petition being in February, but that relates more to an April.
Right.
So it's
So are we gonna
not.
fix it in the
Just
fall?
need a new bylaw. Yeah.
Can we just fix it?
I think there's a number of different ways. We actually talked to KP. Jared had put together a list of things that were not Scrivener's errors, but they're changes that could be made without like reopening the charter or going into full It's as we codify it and put it into E-code, which is to get everything online. It's another goal of ours that
Yep.
Jared had started. That was one suggestion of Katie that we're going to talk to KP about. My idea would be a bylaw change as opposed to just saying like, oh, we're making this edit and that edit.
Right.
So that it's, very clear to everyone what we're doing and why. But
Great.
it's really more of a cleanup as opposed to making significant changes because the charter controls and that's how we operate.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea, Nick.
I think
Well
any
done.
way we can have more transparent expectations is fantastic.
More
so
direction, simplify things.
This is great.
I think the one thing that I really want to be pretty cognitive of is the December town meeting is right in the middle of two major holidays and the kids' concerts and stuff like that. And
Sure is.
having that as skinny as possible is really helpful. I think people are prepared to have 2 nights in the spring, whereas as we go into December, asking them for 2 nights is pretty tough. So if we could just be pretty clear on that and try to keep that as thin as possible.
Yeah.
It's important.
Try not to be the Debbie Downer in the situation. So
Do
I'm
it.
putting my planning board hat on. I would never be able to get the level of detail that I would want for a zoning article for a December town meeting if my deadline was October 7th. It would just be town engagement over the summer for our town, like if I was doing 3A again, which in Swampscott went beautifully and swimmingly.
Not so much another.
It would never have been able to have happened going through our town halls over the summer to engage the community.
You mean, do you mean as far as getting it
Community,
in mailed out because it,
no,
is that what you're talking about?
2 things. One, actually do the work to put together a zoning bylaw change that's more than just, okay, we're changing dimensional regulations. Anything substantive takes a long runway, and that long runway being over the summer with, we can all speak to our different boards. You don't always have perfect attendance over the summer because people have lives outside of this, would be difficult. Meanwhile, engaging in the public engagement process, Marzi and our town planner at the time did a great job with our 3A. I think we had 3 or 4 public engagement seminars or whatnot.
Right.
Under this timeline, that would all have to happen in August, September. It would just make me wary of being able to have the public engagement we need for something that I think people are wary of zoning changes, understandably so, at a time when people are super busy over the summer.
Well, you're not required to have it in the fall town meeting, right? I mean, you can still push it to spring if you needed more runway, right?
Well, you also don't have to have it verbatim on the close. I mean, you can have a placeholder.
That's how we did it.
That was what I was going to highlight, was that
It's just
as
a
long as it's
placeholder.
clear what will be there,
Mhm.
the final language is not necessary.
Yeah, okay.
But you're
Or
still
that-
saying, in order to have public hearings and getting your committee together, that timing is a
The
challenge.
timing coinciding with summer and the start of school would just be, it would make me worry of the level of public engagement we would have. And I would not want us to create a framework for approval for zoning decisions. We're making it more difficult to get public engagement for something that rightfully so people are generally skeptical of zoning changes.
So September, October, November, even closing the warrant in October, but understanding that substantively it didn't have to be verbatim, still having November, this still probably is not long enough.
I would suggest we maybe discuss this with the acting chair of the planning board and maybe some other folks who are in our land use boards who might have, well, I guess planning's the only one that authorizes zoning changes, but just the alignment of the runway needed for a zoning change to successfully be adopted, overlapping with summer and start of school year.
Have you had a
Makes me
chance to do
nervous.
that, Nick?
just looking at the calendar, is there a way to compress the 6.5, almost 7 weeks between October 21st and December 7th?
We lose a full week to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but what activity is actually happening between?
We need to print and mail. So sure, we can push it.
You don't
and
need
we-
7 weeks to do that, though.
If I could just finish answering
I'm
the
sorry,
question.
yeah.
So we could push it to November, the beginning of November.
Yeah.
And then we basically have 10 days to get it professionally. Like, printing it in-house is something that's been done and is not the way that I want to do this. That's part of trying to set this up. So we actually need, and I can get exact dates, but it's like, if we go past sort of the first meeting in November, we are setting ourselves up for something
Right.
that's difficult.
Yeah, and then you're putting it on the public to review and to do all of these, the moderator conversations between when the people receive their warrant through the holiday season.
During the holiday season.
And that's really tough too, so. I
And
mean, I'm not,
it's the season, but also like that whole week of Thanksgiving is lost.
is lost.
Yeah,
correct.
understood.
Yeah, so why don't we talk to the chair?
So we had talked about on the staff side.
Okay.
In the spring, we were saying, you know, as we're looking at this warrant, do we think it makes sense? And the general sense had been yes, but I think we need to engage the conversations.
With some of the boards.
The other piece of it is board changes happening, which we saw on this board and obviously on the planning board as well. If we do them in the spring, someone does all of the work on it, and then there's a new
Right.
member or members that may agree, disagree, want to have had different input. That was a consideration in this as well.
I mean, we
And as I
actively-
said, it's just a recommendation. By no means are we married to this. Happy to
No, it's
adjust
good to have
to.
some
No, it's a
type
good
of
recommendation.
placeholders for dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ted, are there things that aren't as, I mean, in planning, you have some really, big, heavy loads.
And you've got some real
Big list.
basic stuff.
Right, so I'm just wondering if we could,
The basic stuff, you could do that with a week's notice. I mean, you're,
Right.
changing 10 to 12 on a dimensional table. But even still, I mean, state law requires us to have 2 public hearings before town meeting can hear a zoning article. So I think for the basic stuff, it'd be fine, but for some of the more elaborate stuff, and what we've done for zoning has been, historically, the last several years, has been a little bit more elaborate than just minor tweaks.
Right.
I would just get nervous. The other thing that I would be cautious of is people get expectations. So I would hate to, for
Right.
people to expect zoning in December, but, oh, we've got this big article, and it's going to be on the Maytown meeting. People just might have different
Like,
skepticisms
why
as
is
a
it
result
on
of.
May? What
Right.
are they trying to do?
And
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
understandable.
Yep.
So everything else on here looks great, and I appreciate and agree with it. I just think we need to, from a zoning perspective, maybe just
So maybe
think about
revisit
it.
what
Marcy
the-
and I can talk to.
Do you have a suggestion as to what
I
date it
don't-
might be, that might
I
work
don't know,
better?
because that time of year the fall is tough for stuff like this, so I don't know. I need to think through, and probably we should all talk about it. Maybe I can talk with Marzi and you and Joe, the acting chair of the planning board. We can figure something out.
I just don't want to see December being more than one day. I mean, that's my worry, is the timing.
What else would be on the December town meeting warrant?
God knows. I mean,
Well,
you're-
there's-
We pay bills,
Taxes,
We pay
taxes get
bills.
set.
we pay bills,
You all set the
We move-
taxes. It's been the buy down that's on.
Yep, we set the
That's
tax.
we set
spending
the
of money.
taxes here.
Yeah.
But like this, in
The use
theory,
of
what are we
free
gonna hear in
cash is
December?
what
It's
never know.
hot.
Happens at town
Okay.
meeting.
Well, hopefully the sewer bylaw,
What?
Could
the
be.
sewer
Yes.
lateral bylaw.
Yep,
Hopefully we vetted that enough to,
definitely.
So maybe the takeaway from this is maybe Nick, you, Marzi, Krista, me, and Joe
Yeah.
can just kind of spitball and
Absolutely.
game it out.
great.
Just,
Otherwise, this looks great. Didn't mean to be a
Yeah.
Debbie Downer.
It's not.
good job.
What is your, like, projected desirable print date that you would want to go out to be?
We are looking at new printers because we've always used one from Peabody, and I want to bid it out. So I don't
Okay.
have an answer for you right now without going out for that. But the other thing with condensing it is not having an opportunity for town meeting members to sit down and speak to you all individually and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's why I was just asking, what did you, taking that in consideration, what were you thinking?
I'm guessing it's going to be 2 weeks before it mails, to be honest, to be comfortably getting it out the door.
Well, honestly, I think it should arrive in people's homes 2 weeks prior to town meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, which,
Yeah.
this
Arrive.
is set up
That's
to
what
be
we shoot
getting
for.
there well in advance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you're gonna have people saying, I lost my warrant.
And it is not meant to replace it, but we will continue to email out the PDF, just so.
Right.
Yeah, but what's
we're
great about it
belt
is,
suspenders.
like, in the past, for us, we've had a warrant, but like some few members of the public join us while we're discussing the warrant, and if they had their warrant to sort of take notes on and to understand, they'd be able to bring it to town meeting, like, I don't know, maybe my husband's the only one who does that, but
Probably, Katie.
probably.
And then The next slide, very similar. It's setting up a spring schedule. This is less timely because it doesn't require folks knowing now that we'd like to
Yeah.
be doing this stuff in September and October. But this is just sort of a preview for you all that, again, we're intending to pull it back a little bit so that you all are recommending things in advance of the election with time to deliberate. And if there's something that needs to wait until town meeting because it's, being fine-tuned, obviously that can happen again. But this is the idea, looking at communities that have things a little more under control going into town meeting, they kind of stretch it out this way. And so that the hope is, and I mean that on the staff side,
Thanks, Nick.
the hope is that we'll be able to do that.
So I have a loaded question, maybe.
Comes Debbie.
Yeah. No, I'm just for reaction's sake. Some towns do their town meetings way earlier than ours.
Yeah.
Is there a
the
benefit
day
to
or-
talking about it? Like in March, I think.
or
There's some
April.
Vermont does
The-
theirs earlier.
I think the big conflict, if I would call it that here,
Yeah.
is that the election happens right before town meeting. So
Yeah.
one group puts it together, another group is sitting up in the front of the room.
Right.
That's frustration.
But I
Agreed.
think that's the type of question that would be part of a larger charter review. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
a one-off about
I was
a
just-
meeting.
Something I've always.
Good
Are
question.
we doing, can we,
Some have pushed it out too, like I think
Yeah.
North Reading is June 1st as an
Yeah.
example.
wow.
Chatham does
Oh.
theirs.
we need
did
to
theirs
talk
last
about
week,
it,
so.
starting a charter review committee.
Yep,
This
we need to
is-
put that in place.
We need to put that in place, so if we could put that on the radar to do that,
Add that to the list.
because we
Thanks
gotta
for
get
putting
that
this
ball rolling.
Mhm.
I think there's some suggestions. We had originally reached out to all boards and committees and asked for them to.
There are changes.
Any changes that they wanted to make, we asked for them to convey to us. I don't know where that is, but
Do you have an idea of when that was done?
David has
Lot-
it.
I don't.
No,
think-
he
I don't
was
think
the
I ever
chair at the
saw that when
time.
I was.
I do vaguely.
chairing
So it
planning
was
board.
so is
two plus years ago then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
one,
least.
two, and
I
a
just want to make sure we're looking in the right general area.
Yeah, I mean, we could ask
Yeah.
it again too.
Yeah.
But we had sort of reached out and said,
There's a timeline. Every committee had to send in their recommendations for charter change. And then the whole idea was just to make a charter change
them.
instead of having a committee. I think we should have a committee that can make recommendations for charter change.
I think so too, but it's great to have some ideas to start with. So
Mhm.
then everyone feels like they got a seat at the table, even though the committee's only however big. So,
Mhm.
all right. Thank you, Nick.
Sure.
Thank you, Nick. Good job.
We'll move on to discussion on the Hawthorne.
So, again, I just wanted to give a brief update, and obviously we had the proponents in tonight. Just to point back to town meeting in December, the discussion there was that it was a dual track, get someone in so that there was a partner to the town in there covering things like heat and electric and all that goes with it that we were maintaining in order to protect the building and to try to derive revenue over the short term, which we identified at the time as approximately 30 months to go to June of 2028. As you can see tonight, the licenses are in process. We have a signed short-term lease. They're working inside to prepare the building. So we wanted to just start the discussion tonight around the long-term solution or the long-term RFP, which was the second part of that dual track, as you all described at town meeting. As I sort of wrote here, the goal would be that we get a draft that you all have looked at, noodled over, provided edits this summer, so that we are really entering into a process that is, gives plenty of time for folks that might be interested, that you all have plenty of time to thoughtfully discuss these decision points, the guardrails, how we want to score it, so that whatever we are asking for is reflective of what you all would like to see, and anyone who's responding knows sort of the rules of the game and understands, what we value as a community before they respond. And so tonight I wanted to highlight that we have, want to start that process. When I talk about the decision points or the RFP itself, really 70% of it is done. It's the community profile, it's the idea, like this is the size of the property, this is what's on the property now. Those things are just informational. What remains is the really important part, and I think Brian spoke to it a little bit earlier tonight, and it's the things that you all need to weigh in on, those policy decisions around what we're asking for, if we want to put any guardrails that go beyond the current zoning, which I have a couple slides about that, and then not to decide tonight, but for you all to think about what are the things that are important for you from a scoring perspective, so that in that RFP, it is very clear to someone, we're open to any idea, say, but, you know, you're highlighting your values by saying, you know, this is something that will be scored a certain way, this is something that would be scored another way. And that would be around, you know, how much space there is for parking, how much space there is for green space somewhere. Whatever the case may be, those are decisions that I just wanted to introduce to you all to consider a little bit. This is a conversation I think we need to continue. But we'll continue to refine that shell of the RFP that has all the things about the community and about the physical space. And then I think we can figure out how to best facilitate a discussion between you all to give the staff the direction to put together that last piece, and that piece that's most important, really. So I did want to just give a quick update on the property itself right now, and this is the land uses that are allowed by right, and that's the Hawthorne Street Overlay District. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay,
No, Humphrey Street over.
Humphrey, sorry. I got Hawthorne on the mind. So these are subject to the design review, obviously, but they're allowed. So it's retail, food and beverage of certain size. And then I want to highlight, because Christo thankfully highlighted it for me and put it in a different color here, the office and professional uses specifically are things that are restricted away from the first floor so that we can continue to have like an active and vibrant walkable corridor. So it's not something where you have a bunch of, you know, financial services that may or may not be in the office or can be remote. It's really about promoting a sort of community feel to the streetscape itself. And then also here, these are the land uses allowed with design review and planning board approval. Again, we're not making any decisions, not asking you to make any decisions tonight, but I just wanted to highlight that if we were to go out and say anything that's allowed by right, these are the types of things that would be responsive, that people might get back to us and say, I want to put you know, retail, I want to put multifamily housing, I want up to 10 residential units. Just because that is sort of the simplest way for them to move forward with the by right. You know, obviously planning board approvals, but not having to go before the ZBA. So for me, these were things that I wanted to highlight for you all, but I think what is most important is thinking about, you know, the ideas and things that you all want to see at that site so that we can reflect the values that you all are bringing to the table in the scoring. And I think that's what's most important. If we're going to leave it sort of wide open to, you know, we want to derive some revenue, or we want it to be completely green space, or whatever those things are, we need to really demonstrate that in the way that we draft that scoring rubric, because, you know, that is how someone will look at the RFP and say, this makes sense to me because I want to put a restaurant and I want to have housing above it, and I can see that that's something I can go before the planning board for. So this is just meant to be an opening to that discussion, and certainly a signal and a reminder to the community that we have this in mind, because we talked about it in December and it was not set aside. We were really focused on doing everything we can to get our respondents to the RFP up and running. And we've worked closely with them as well. I just want to highlight that we've had a couple of meetings where we get building inspector, health, fire department, police, and Max over there, because Max was taking care of the building, so that we can answer a bunch of questions all at once and try to make it as easy as possible for them to move forward as our tenant. So we are sort of making every effort, but I want both you all and the community to know this is the next step in what we plan to do going forward. So I don't know if there's any questions here, or if there's things that you would like me to be researching and reviewing that I can circulate for folks. That was the other thing that I kind of had in mind here.
I was just thinking from a timing perspective, like walking backwards from the 36 months that we had available to us to lease the property, going backwards from there, from like, obviously we want sort of a seamless transition maybe between a short-term use and a long-term use. So if you walk back from that date to say like, okay, although we don't have things in hand, but like maybe, you know, there's a due diligence period, and then we can sort of maybe look to Hadley as a little bit of a, I don't know, a marker to see going backwards, like when do we really have to have this RFP out by, so that we can then have respondents, so that we could even have time to rubric them, so that we can choose a path forward, and then will we sort of make our mark. So I don't want to like have to truncate anything in the middle. Let's work from the back and go forward and see like,
Do we use it like a template?
Yeah, like, so do we have to have this decision made by the end of July? Do we have to the end of September? Like when, if we wanted to keep the timeline of a smooth transition between tenants, and we were thinking, you know, like approximately a X due diligence period, how long could we discuss this.
I need to look at the due diligence period that we gave Hadley.
Okay.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
If you're familiar,
I actually read it yesterday, and I'm trying to, it was like, was it 18 months?
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. You know, Marzi, your crew, everybody did a great job with the RFP process, I thought, between that and also with Pine Street. So you guys really know what you're doing. But I think having a template in front of us.
I
Just
think
a
we owe it
timeline.
to the people of the town too, right? We owe them a timeline.
Yep.
We said we were going to do this, we said we were gonna put it out, and get it moving, and we really, you know, up until seeing this here, we really haven't produced anything. So I think it's on us to really have an established timeline and roll that out so that people can, you know, understand where we're
Hold
going.
us accountable.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna
absolutely.
pump the tires of the last board, you know, when you guys did the Hadley project in Marcy's office, the way that was done was really well done, and I, you know, as someone who's been in some level of development before, the fact that we got the respondent level we did for those hotel properties, both Delamar and the other folks that responded, is frankly
Sure.
jaw-dropping to me, that we got
7 or 8
between the
responses?
Drew companies, Noannet, you know, Lark with the local development
Rise.
team, Rise.
We have to
Those-
remember, we also had
We had a consultant.
consulting company, we had
Which
Pinnacle.
Me too, why
Right.
I'm bringing that up.
That's where it's going.
There was a lot of value in that based on the high quality of respondents. We chose a great respondent, but a lot of the other ones we chose would have been fantastic as well. I would hope that we can have that same level of respondent quality. I know that a lot of that is on us and the decision-making we give on the RFP, but a lot of that is on publicizing the RFP and getting awareness to respond to it.
Right.
So has this board, or has there been a conversation at the staff level of mechanisms to do that? Is there consulting companies that can help with that? I don't have an answer, I don't have an inclination on that, but I know Pinnacle was great at blasting out to their network, and that helped lead to the great respondent quality we got.
But also Pinnacle was strictly, their expertise is in hotel development.
Right.
And hospitality.
Right.
So I think that, as Nick has mentioned, if you provide us with guidance, maybe in regards to, like, what's the use, or maybe narrow down the preferred use for the site, and then we can really try to work either with, you know, developers or experts, because, I mean, there are hospitality groups, you know, you have, you know, from restaurants to hotels to entertainment venues, and then also we can check with, you know, developments. I know that, you know, would housing be on the table, off the table, sort of like, where do we stand on that? So I think that we'd love to hear from you in regards
We
to
should probably
what is
talk
it
about
that,
that.
you know,
Mhm.
is the preference.
Right, so this is the beginning of that conversation. So
Right.
this is not, I didn't expect people to come prepared with like a list of all the things they wanted to talk about for this today. We can, but what I thought would be important is that we're putting it on our radar to have this conversation on the 17th, that we should really come forward with like, what your expectations for the RFPs are, if there's parameters, what they look like, how they flesh out. Like, if you want to go back to the Hawthorne Reuse Committee report, I think there were 12 instances where it sort of felt like there needed to be some policy decision made, and we're the policy-making board, so we need to talk about that, we need to flesh some of those things out.
So I think we should at least have this on the agenda for every subsequent meeting that we have after this, right? With the 17th being the placeholder, that is when we set the pillars of what exactly this board wants, or what they want to be included in the RFP. But, you know, we can't stop the conversation. We can't just philosophically say, let's get this going, and then, you know, push it off, right? So I think we have to be really cognizant of having it on every single meeting as we, you know, to make sure we're hitting our timeline and getting this out.
So what is the framework to build this? Would the planning, or you know, Marcy's department in planning come to us with a framework of a rubric and ask us to start filling that in, or do we
I think it starts
organically
with the
come from?
pillars. I think it starts with the pillars of what we're looking to see, if there's a ceiling, if there's not a ceiling, if we're saying, you know, RFI, or, you know, are we saying RFP with specific pillars of what we want to see, what we don't want to see categorically, no way, like, you know, all park, or, you know, all residential, or whatever.
What's the
you know.
guardrails?
What are the guardrails?
Yeah.
I think that's
And I
step
think,
one.
Wayne, you could use the report that was presented by the Hawthorne Reuse Committee, and they do delineate a lot of where they think we need to make those decisions. So even if we just started with like that parts of the conversation, we could start working down to be like, okay, are we all in agreement with, you know, X, whatever, parking must be present. something that simple,
And I think
right?
we have to use that report, because that committee did, almost year's worth of work on what exactly we asked them to do. So they certainly have solicited some feedback, I think, at this point, from people in the town. So that's gotta, that will come into play, I think, in the very
I agree.
beginning.
I agree.
There's also a philosophical conversation about doing this that we have to consider is how open-ended and how strict do we need to be?
Right.
And, we can set the guardrails of this is what all the proposals need to be about, and they gotta be within this use case and this land use case, and,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. Alternatively, there's another mindset we can look at is, we are open-ended, but here's where we are scoring things most heavily based on some recommendations and
Totally
scoring
agree.
things least heavily. So
Totally agree.
there's two different philosophies, I guess, we could
Yes.
approach this with.
Either we're saying, we don't want you to even reply with, if you're not in this parameters, or everybody can reply, but like, if
not even
you're
gonna look at it.
100 units of residential,
Right.
like,
Not
we're
even
gonna.
Get a zero or negative,
Yeah, you're gonna
whatever.
getting a negative scoring in this section. So, we can definitely discuss that, what is more preferred, and maybe town can have some feedback on, like, is there a preferred model for that? I mean, if we really want to see the responses in that way, then my thought would be like, don't limit the RFP, then limit the rubric. But then that leaves the onus on us to say, hey, $50 million investor, you can't come here because we don't want residential. So we have to make that determination now before we get the answer. 'Cause
Agreed.
I don't want the answer to skew.
I agree.
But I think that's a kind of important part of the conversation, right? So to the people in this town that want to have a park, and you have a proposal that potentially comes through with $15-20 million worth of revenue coming in, right? They need to see that this is what
Right.
we'd have to say no to,
Right.
right? And they have to be able to understand how that impacts
Sure.
us, right?
Do we have an obligation to respect the by right part of the overlay district, or because we own the property, we have different latitudes? In other words, that by right so my question is, if you were a private owner, you would be subject to the by right.
I think you're talking about spot zoning, Wayne. I think you're talking about spot zoning.
No, I think are you referring to since it's a town-owned plot, are we exempt from zoning?
Are we exempt?
Which the answer is no.
No.
Because it's not an educational or municipal use.
So then
Or
if
religious
you,
use, I
if,
guess.
so then if the zoning, the overlay that's allowed in the zoning, if you then restricted further based on the RFP, that would not be valid, right? Because the
No,
zoning by
because
right.
We're still the property owners. We can restrict whoever gets the RFP.
That was
whatever we
that was
want.
what I was getting at.
Okay.
But I would also encourage, this is the loosest zoning we have in Swampscott. The Humphrey Street Overlay District is a godsend because it lets us recruit any within guardrails, a lot of different types of businesses, and we give them a lot of leeway as long as they contribute to the overall walkability of Humphrey Street. So as important as zoning is, and I'm a huge advocate for it, obviously, I wouldn't get too caught up in worrying about zoning for the use of this property until we get further down the line, because there's a lot of latitude in here that gives the planning board to waive a lot of different things.
Okay. Let me give an example, and you can give me the feedback. So if we agree to say we don't want X, whatever it is that is on there by right.
Yeah.
Do we have an obligation to be able to have to include that in the RFP, or can we just leave that out of
We're
the
the
RFP?
landowners, we can do that.
That is that sums up my question. or
That's where the
answer.
scoring rubric would come in,
Right.
for you to say, we don't want a bed and breakfast hotel or inn.
Right.
Or it will be negatively scored, rather, if
Yeah, right.
If we take that.
if that's the
So
response.
even though you
Right.
have
If
by right zoning, we're gonna negatively score you.
Right.
So
But
the
those are, I
landowners, we
think,
can-
for the next meeting, those are the things that we need to come to the table with all of
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah, I
Your
think
top
there's some
three, or
homework.
whatever, your top three pillars of what you want to see here.
And we can put together the schedule that highlights working backwards, if it's
Thank you.
possible to do it without truncating it, and if
Yep.
it's not, to just lay it over the calendar, what it would look like when we would be done otherwise.
I think the due diligence period on the Hadley was only 90 days, but then they are in a financial due diligence period of 18 months.
Okay.
So just to say that. And that's not to say we won't be in that similar situation in Hawthorne, but,
But we can overlay it on like
Yes.
the real calendar right
Yeah.
now and say that if we don't change anything, it gets us to
yep,
this date,
The other important thing that I know I'm at least going to be focusing on before the next meeting, and I think it would be helpful for all of us, just in my mind, to advance the conversation is that ideological conversation of, do we want to approach it on a rubric scoring basis? Or do we want to put strict guardrails on, and then the rubric comes later?
Yep.
Just to throw that out there for.
Yeah, I think that's the first decision, to be honest, because that dictates every other point of the
Agreed.
conversation.
Yeah, that's
So I
perfect.
agree with
with your
To say, like,
question.
that is.
I have to think about that.
Piece.
Brian is
Okay.
raising his hand.
I see that, but we're not in a public.
Okay.
We,
Do you have a
comments
preference?
were made at public.
I have a preference, and I'm happy to share it on the 17th.
Okay.
I will say here,
Well, it might be helpful to start this conversation now
Yeah.
because.
I'm happy to.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ted.
I think the rubric approach is phenomenal, and I'll point to the the Hadley
Hadley.
process, the Noantic group, I think, submitted a proposal that met everything the RFP required, and they also said, and if you're interested, we put a lot of thought in something else that was totally outside of the box for your reaction. And I think there were mixed reactions to it, not necessarily in a negative way, just, oh, we weren't expecting that. But it was, I thought there was a lot of value in it, and I know how I reacted to it. But it gave us something to react to. It gave us a thought process to look at, and I would hate for us to shut the door on something that we could not even have imagined or dreamt of.
Absolutely.
But we have a rubric here that we can stick to, so we're not being unfair to any group in town that has a particular interest. So that's at least my
I
thought.
think the only worry would be is to make sure that that rubric wouldn't hurt, wouldn't hurt anybody who's coming in with a whole different mindset on what could be done there.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, for what I think is going to be valuable for all of us is for us to be able to say, this is the rubric that we came to, and no matter what the decision is, whether it's parking, combination, mixed use, whatever it is, there's consensus among the board that, like, this is our gold standard, this is our North Star, we all agree with it, we're fully bought into the rubric, and that's our Bible.
Yeah.
And I think that's it has to be what we can point to so that whatever the decision comes, whenever it comes, it's defensible, right? We can all walk out, heads held high, we did the right thing because we all agreed on the rubric, and
Right.
we can be subjective, but we were all working off the same sheet of music.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I think of is like, the counter argument is you can make data say whatever you want. So even if you have the most foundational rubric, right, that is the North Star and we all agree on, it's somewhat subjective how you fill in the rubric, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So like, if we say like, okay, well, it's preferred that we don't go over 20,000 square feet of residential, and we only approve up to 10 units, and if you go above that, we will negatively dock you. Well, how much are we negatively docking you? Are we all negatively docking you the same?
Yeah.
It's preferred that you take down the building and open that space up, but if we decide, okay, we're gonna negatively dock those who wanna keep the building, well, how much? A point or 100 points? Or maybe that's not as, you know what I mean? Like,
I hear you, yeah.
so we have to be thoughtful in that way, because in the end, we could end up just having this, delaying the conversation rather than having it in advance.
Yeah, I think that, I hear you and I agree with that. I think we'll just have to figure out a way to incorporate that sort of 1 to 5 in a rubric versus
Yep.
-1 to 5.
Yep.
And if I'm rating a project a -25 and Danielle's rating it a +25,
Right.
you're gonna know we're both kind of,
Yep.
we've got our
Yep.
Philosophical difference
philosophical differences, and
Mhm.
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like to have a framework that we can all work from and feel confident in, and again, if it's all transparent, you see I'm a 25 and Danielle's a -10, we just
Yep.
have different philosophies on it.
Totally.
And we should consider whether or not, although we are the policymaking board here, if there are any other, like we had town staff participating in the rubric for Hadley. So like whether or not we consider any other stakeholders in that rubric at all.
Agreed.
So I know like Marzi ranked them, Gino ranked them at the time.
The Hadley? Gino was involved in ranking the Hadley?
Wasn't it Gino or was it Sean? Sean, sorry, it was Sean.
But it was, yeah.
You're right, Marielle.
Sean, yeah.
Max.
Pete
I think.
Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, Pete Kane, that's
Pete
right.
Kane.
Pete,
Mhm.
yeah. So we just had
Yeah.
active town staff ranking it also, so that like helped to sort of,
Inform our decision making.
yeah, absolutely. We had, open discussion about it, and then we all ranked it individually, and then we averaged them, so.
But I would think if we all kind of get a rubric that we're all kind of comfortable with, right, or a framework, we're gonna see some marginal similarities for
Yeah.
the most part.
For sure.
In our responses, we're all gonna be different, but they're gonna be, I would be shocked if Wayne and I are on one side and then 90, everybody else is on the other. I'd be shocked if that happens for every respondent.
Yeah, I think there would probably just be
It'll be
a
clustered,
handful of things that.
Yeah, and the question is, do you weight each criteria the same? It's a multiplication factor.
Yep.
Right, so we have to come up with that.
Yep.
Is there any particular conversation about the, I'm just trying to think how to think about this carefully and say this carefully. If there's any conversation that we have to have prepared, should there be some agreement in the future with adjacent land?
Well, I think you can say openly in public session, because we have, that there has been a conversation about the purchase of the St. John's parking lot. So that's fine, we can talk about that publicly. We should not talk about where those negotiations are at this point.
Not intending to, yeah.
But we could figure out a way or be thoughtful about,
I don't think that necessarily will come into play in the first conversation of individual
Agreed.
pillars,
I
right? But
agree.
yes,
Totally
there
agree
will
with you.
definitely be.
Yes.
But we could even figure out a
By
way
that
in the
point,
RFP.
maybe we have some better idea.
To say, like, if the adjacent land was pursued, how would your development change or something like that, an additional, so you would almost be doing like 2 answers to the RFP, one for the lot as is and one for the lot.
Just like Noanna did for the
yeah.
hotel.
Right,
And,
right.
I mean, and then,
I just wanted to bring that up kind of at the beginning.
Oh, that's fair.
yeah, and if we kept that door open so that the RFP still allowed for that conversation, then that might help inform.
I mean, you'd have to.
A decision, yeah.
I think we really have to figure this one out, only because if there's a possibility of locking in that space, that changes the entire footprint and the ability of what can happen. So if I'm somebody answering an RFP, and I've listened to the meetings, I've read the reports from the Hawthorne Committee, I know that open space is really important in that mix. So if you do have that property, then you've checked that box, you've checked at least part of that box, and then what else am I going to offer there as an RFP? So I just think that we have to really think about how to tie it all in order to get the best RFPs.
So we talk about RFP versus RFI.
Yeah.
There are distinct differences between the two. One may or may not get a lot of attention, like the RFI may potentially get less attention than an actual RFP.
Historically, they do.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're looking at I'm just spitballing this, if we're looking at this from a 40,000-foot view, which we kind of are, because we're trying to kind of mold the clay here, based upon instructions that we've received, from a lot of study in the past, now I actually lost my own train of thought, Jesus.
RFP,
So,
RFI.
yeah, RFI versus RFP. Does an RFI actually get us in a place that kind of scopes that rough mold before we get into the RFP? I don't know the answer. It's an honest, just throwing the question into the atmosphere.
I sort of feel like
we don't.
we've already done the RFI process. Like Brian's group has spent the last year doing the RFI process. And although we haven't gone out to like the vast unknown and asked for feedback, we did go out to community members and ask for feedback. And the whole idea was that was a community purchased property. So that feedback is ultimate to the decisions that we should be making here. So to me, it's like, okay, I agree that we should go out to RFP and let's see what the market prevails, but based on the pillars that the information that Brian and his team came up with in order to determine, what we thought the community wanted to see in that parcel.
So I just see from, and chip in here if I'm wrong, but the definition, well, not the definition, the intent of an RFI, we got information from the community in terms of wants and needs, but the information coming back from professional developers would be what I'm looking for from an RFI, which would be just kind of a high-level scope of, hey, what possibly we could be doing here. But I know that there's a hesitancy by developers to do that because then
they show their cards.
They're showing their cards to what everyone else could potentially do. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But
I think-
just wanted, where are we on that?
I I agree that it's a thoughtful conversation. I just don't, I think, seeing as how long this conversation's been on the table.
Right.
Seeing as how long we've been talking about this publicly, very publicly.
We need action.
I feel like at this point, if developers are sort of in the loop about it, they've heard about it, we've been talking to, some of our partners who have answered RFPs at Hawthorne, answered RFP at Hadley. We've been talking to a lot of folks here. So I think it's just time to pull the trigger at this point, but.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Couldn't see the screen.
No, that's fine.
I just want to circle back to something I mentioned before, and I think, Mars, you answered this, but I do think there is, once we get a little further down in this, again, I know Pinnacle did the consulting specifically for a hotel because they're a hotel and lodging consulting firm. But their ability to broadcast that to their network and get the quality of respondents that we got was very impressive. So when we get to a certain point, it may be helpful, when we've got this rubric laid out, to have the conversation of, is there a investment that we are comfortable or should make or even can make in someone who can help market this to the right level of respondents, where we get as many high qualified respondents as we can, rather than just put it out to the Mass Gov RFP website.
Have you already considered that?
We've talked to one group that approached us because they know someone in town, and I basically said, we're at a point now that we're not ready to engage in something like that.
Right.
Their general pitch was the idea that they would not look at it as just a highest and best use, so it's like, what is the most money you can get?
Mhm.
It's very similar to the type of work that we're saying we'll take on, to come up with a rubric and think about the way to do it, and their ultimate goal is obviously that's
How much would that potentially cost us? Do you
There's
have any
not a
idea?
number yet.
Okay.
But is it six figures, like?
It's five, it's low
Okay.
five.
Okay.
Do we have somewhere we can even look to consider to pay for something like that at this point?
I mean, I wouldn't want to answer that for sure,
that's a
but
different
there's,
level.
we can figure something.
We did already hire a consultant.
Right.
Here, and it wasn't.
spent a lot of money.
It wasn't well met by the public, we'll just say that.
No.
So I know,
Well,
I just want.
it was
that
also
doesn't
done in
mean-
secret.
Yes, that doesn't mean we don't want to do it now.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, like, I would like to have some board-based conversations first so that we can direct the consultant rather than the consultant directing us.
100%. My only desire was to have them market the RFP to
Yes,
get the
I
respondent
think-
quality that we want, nothing
Right.
beyond that per se.
So-
And
very
that's a
limited
different
scope.
discussion than what I had with them.
Okay.
And so if we were looking for someone to help us connect with developers in whatever form,
Yeah.
whether it's parkland, mixed use, or whatever, then obviously we can engage, multiple firms to say, what can you do for us to try to make sure we're getting in front of the right groups? Because we think this is a really unique opportunity. So happy to have that on sort of the parking lot for this, no pun intended, for something that, schedule and calendar for you all next time while you all spend a little time thinking about it in advance. And we certainly keep that on the back burner.
Okay.
So some of the things we need to be prepared to talk about, do we want that building to remain?
Do we what?
Do you want the building to stay? Do you want it, is that a consideration? Is that gonna be one of our pillars, right? So these are things like that, like how much residential, if residential. These are things we should be prepared to think about for the next meeting, I think.
Okay.
It's my 2 cents, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think things that we really need to have a base on is how we feel about having residential versus non-residential, how we feel about open space, percentages on open space. Parking, and the timeline of what it takes to turn the property around. I think that's very, very important.
Yep.
So I'm not,
And retained ownership.
yeah, I think the other thing we have to talk about is the length of timing on a long-term lease, 30 years, 50 years, 99 years.
Yeah, I mean, the significance of the investment
Right.
dictate likely the length of requested time, right? Because.
And also potential residential use. I mean,
Right.
Those are all kind of, you put those all in a blender and that helps you get your ROI you need on a significant investment. So
Yeah.
just help to inform our philosophy and rubric building or whatnot.
Yep, talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Like, when Hawthorne came forward and had conversations, right? Like, no, we didn't plan for residential, but in the scheme of things, how do you get a developer
reality-
to bid without it?
Right.
So then what is that sweet spot that you're comfortable going to? Or how do you want to frame the rubric to say, like, we acknowledge while the preference isn't residential, we acknowledge it's necessary for the financing, so
Right.
we just don't want to see it go out of hand. What does that look like? How do we want to make that pitch? So,
Right, all potentially.
yeah, all potentially, yes, thank you. Okay, so let's move on then to discussion, unless anybody else, we're good?
Nope.
The discussion and possible vote on
Let
the,
me just go back to prepare for that meeting.
yep,
Feel like we should be working off the same data set. So if there's anything that we feel that we want to have in front of us that we can study, whether or not that is obviously the Hawthorne report, but there was also.
Baker Tilly,
What?
the Baker Tilly?
the Baker Tilly, the $50,000 report that,
Is that the library?
No.
No.
no, that's, the library's another one.
Business.
That's over,
Have not
that's
grabbed that
6
third rail?
figures.
I was more referring to the public input that has been collated and delineated over a long period of time. Is that
You're talking
something?
about the Hawthorne Reuse Committee report?
Before the Hawthorne
Remember they
Reuse
had
Committee,
the
there's.
Marcy
the
has
popover
that.
meeting?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure,
there were
yeah.
several meetings.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if there's community feedback and that's
Well,
been
didn't Baker
tallied.
Tilly put together, who did we have consulting for us at the time?
We did Baker Tilly,
Yeah,
was the
so-
request that Doug had requested, because he
Yeah.
really wanted to see more economic development data.
Well, the Baker Tilly was focused on
The
the
whole
whole
district,
district, right?
the whole
business-
district.
The district, like what,
Right.
So that's something
Best
we
use of
should
the
get
Humphrey
to you
Street or
guys, so you
whatever.
can see. There's the Hawthorne Reuse Committee report, and then there's, should be some feedback from the consultant that was hired to facilitate the dots.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
Yes.
what I was.
yeah, that, I want to see,
Who
I'd
was
like
that?
to see.
Who was that?
Brian might know.
Cushing,
No, it was, oh my gosh, what can I think of it?
that, we know what we're talking
We can
about.
find
If
it.
you could
Exactly, yeah.
provide us that report, that would be
Yeah,
great.
there's some sort of
And-
consolidated,
Yes,
thing that we
all
can
the-
go
all the
to, so
reports.
when we're in discussion, we can point back to,
Committee report. Okay.
resident feedback and.
So I think between those three sort of things, we can be working from the same data set.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
All right, moving on to trash talk. Guys, I think we are
have a-
making
wait,
good
I just
time.
have one quick question on the, just because it,
I just said
Maybe
we're
their
making good
neighbors.
time.
listen, nobody wants to get out of here quicker than me, but the,
We all like hanging out.
the Hadley, on the Hadley, when are they coming? When is the date that they're coming?
Next,
We were talking about the 17th.
17th.
17,
Yep.
okay.
And Dixon would be here to go through the design drawings that they provided.
But does he also have to do that, are we also having another public meeting outside of the select board meeting? I don't know why I thought there
I
was,
think that was on the timeline, was they were gonna have public.
they had to have two public meetings before before submitting the plans, which they
Right.
did.
Right.
I don't think they had to have another public meeting.
The only thing that the board had requested is to talk about the parking lot and to really engage the neighbors surrounding
Yes.
the rear of the properties.
Okay,
And that's something else that we'll talk to Dixon tomorrow to try to schedule that.
while they're here.
That's correct.
Yes, that
do
we
the
talked
neighbor,
about
so
that.
do you have to, do we have to notify the neighbors?
Well, we're gonna confirm with Dixon that he's
Okay.
available to, and then it will be communicated that he will be available to take feedback from abutters while he's here.
Mhm.
And we mentioned this on the last call we had, that, he has dealt with this in other
Right.
neighborhood hotels that they've built, and they have facilitated, not public meetings in the sense that everybody can come, but sort of abutter meetings like that, to make
Okay.
sure that the concerns are heard and they, are in communication, they're being good neighbors. So Dixon committed to do that.
But we can also get either a flyer or a postcard out to
Yep.
the abutters to make sure, even though it's not a public hearing, that they know.
Yeah, that
they
we'll
find out another way
inform
about
them
the
in
17th.
some way.
Yeah.
But they will in the next few months. I think their LDA says they have to have all permitting by February 2027, which is not far away. So
Right.
we'll have to go for site plan. I would imagine they'll have to file by mid-October at the latest in order
Maybe a
to,
little bit sooner, but yes.
yeah, probably sooner. That would be tight, in order to make that deadline, which is a public hearing, so we'll be notified.
Right, I'm just saying this is like a belt and suspenders to make sure for this, that no one can say they didn't know it was coming.
Right.
Even though
Right.
it's not legally required for
Right.
normal
Yeah.
select
Great,
board.
let's do that.
Best practice.
Okay.
Great. Okay, back to trash and
So-
keeping on time.
I have what'd you say?
And keeping on time.
Okay. I thought you were telling me to keep it short, which I will, but.
I was.
Great. So I have a brief trash contract update. Before I get into these, I want to talk about, or just highlight, on the 8th, we have a Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting that I will be presenting in greater detail. And then on the 15th, I believe here, I was looking up to see Joe, but we're working on having a meeting here that will be broadcast and really more of a Q&A. There'll be the very similar presentation to what I give it. Solid Waste Advisory will have Gino here, hopefully members of Solid Waste Advisory Committee sort of sitting up front with us, answering questions, talking about implementation. So
You said this the 15th.
right, so it's the next 2 Mondays, there'll be meetings. They'll both be hybrid. We would love to have anyone come to either one of them as well, obviously. And very likely there'll be another one towards the end of the month that is, again, just sort of a Q&A. This is where we are, this is what's going on. Folks are welcome to come ask questions and anything else they would like. The updates, in addition to that, we anticipate tomorrow, the afternoon, I would say right now, just because I haven't turned it on for the morning yet. We will have an updated webpage, and we'll put a banner that will be persistent across the top of the website and the sort of news flash, so a few different ways to get there, that have frequently asked questions that we anticipate related to the implementation of this and the upcoming changes around the carts and other things that I'll update here. That Q&A will grow as we have the SWAC meeting and any other, if we're hearing similar questions, we'll make sure that it's just posted there as another place to get questions and answers, regardless of whether or not you can get me on the phone. I'm looking at Wayne just because he's been very involved with SWAC prior to being elected, but it'll be a centralized place for information that will become sort of the hub for the implementation and going forward. So just want to highlight that. As I said, I anticipate tomorrow afternoon because I have not yet set it up to turn it on. It's a draft page right now. So the 4 things I have listed here, I just wanted to update. The first one is about service levels. And for me, that means, we're still doing yard waste. How often is recycling happening? What's happening with trash? So in short, none of the things are changing right now. Recycling is every week. Trash is every week. I believe it's 7 weekends, is that right, Wayne, or 7 weeks rather, for yard waste. That is also continuing. These were all parts of the contract negotiation, and so the idea was we're going to automated, which is a change. So we will now have a machine with an arm that picks up the barrels and dumps them in to the truck. That is a significant change. So we wanted to maintain service levels with that, and that was the contract that we negotiated. And I'll sort of stop for questions at any point, but I just wanted to highlight that as number one. Recycling carts, which we talked about at town meeting, obviously, and budgeted money, free cash to purchase. We anticipate actually executing that this week with the hope that they will be here as soon as possible. There has been some discussion that they could be here at the beginning of July, and I think where we are right now on that transition from manual to fully automated is that we're looking at the second week in July to allow for a little more time for public communication and education, but also to make sure we can reasonably deploy all of these new recycling carts and make sure that every service address has what they need and what's there, and sort of work through any kinks that we may have. We heard from Republic today that they have secured the trucks that we need to go fully automated, which was sort of an open question. It could require additional funds if we went into we had negotiated down sort of a 90-day window that they had, and beyond that, they would be swallowing any related costs. They told us today that they were able to secure it based on when we move forward. They're excited about that, so as soon as we're ready and deployed, we will be making that transition.
That's a significant savings for us.
And it's something they had indicated they thought they would be able to do, but getting the confirmation removed.
For both recycling and for trash?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
And that removed one lever of anxiety that had existed.
Good.
So, with that, the recycling carts, as I said, will be procured. I mentioned at town meeting, but just highlighting here again, it's a 96-gallon barrel. It is a large recycling barrel. It's the equivalent to having, I believe it's 4.5 of the bins. So in terms of volume that can go inside it?
No, 4.5
bin.
Of our current trash size.
Not the bin, the
little blue recycle bin.
Oh, the
Nobody
blue,
uses
yeah.
those now.
I know.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
trying to give
Okay.
I'm trying to give a frame of reference because everyone has different sized barrels.
Yes, yes.
A bin is something that everyone has
So
some
4.5
tacit familiarity
bins.
with.
4.5.
It might be 5, but I'm going to go on the safe
Lowball
side.
it.
Yeah. It's a lot of capacity, and it's something that, I will just highlight, since I talked about service levels. One of the reasons that we chose that size is so in the future, if there is a discussion from a policy standpoint about any changes to the recycling, it is something that can be handled. It was not a decision that we wanted to be making in the future based on what had been deployed in the summer of 2026. We wanted to keep every option open and leave those policy decisions to be made by the select board. So I just wanted to highlight that was one of the important decision points with going with that large barrel. Also in talking not only to the vendor we chose, but with other vendors, basically every community that is going automated is going with the large recycling barrel to give as much capacity as possible, because tipping recycling is something where we get some money back and it is cheaper than tipping trash. So we want people to be thinking that way. We want to continue to do everything we can to stay within the 35-gallon trash and doing everything we can to recycle as much material as we can. On timing, as I mentioned, what we're looking at right now is the second week in July to give us more opportunity to make sure everything is deployed and that we have time to have as many conversations and open communication opportunities with the community.
So we're talking about rolling out this new trash policy the second week in July, in 6 weeks from now.
That is the idea right now.
Okay.
Including trash, automated for trash.
Correct, which
Okay, both.
the only change in automation for trash is making sure that the barrel is 3 feet away from,
Right, well, that was
you
my
know,
point.
obstructions.
So
So
you
the
extend
barrel, we already have the standardized barrel on the trash side, so it's making sure we deploy the standardized barrel on the recycling side, in working through questions and comments and concerns that folks may have between now and then.
Okay. So I just think that's a really short runway. There's a lot of information to get out to people. The sooner we can do that, the happier I will be personally, because I've been asking for a bit. It's 6 weeks, and that's going to fly, right? So the sooner we can get specifics out and let people know, this is what you're getting, this is what you're doing, these are your options, the better off we'll be.
And some of that will be up tomorrow. The initial public opportunity would be on Monday, the 8th, and then the 15th is the one that we would be doing here for anyone to come in. It's just a public information session. It's not hosted by a particular committee or anything like that.
So we're going to do that for June 8th, there's going to be a session, did you say?
June 8th is the solid waste
There's
advisory
there's a SWAC meeting where Nick will be presenting to SWAC members to kind of inform them more. Up until now, it's really been the task force that's kind of been working on that. So the entirety of SWAC will have an opportunity to kind of ask additional questions, kick the tires, make sure that, how we're gonna roll this out and take part of the education piece of this, right? This SWAC gets involved in addition with staff.
So that's on Monday, so at that point, we're still not finalized anything, right? We're just.
What do you mean
because SWAC
finalized?
I don't know, so SWAC is still gonna look at it, right, and
Yeah.
kick the tire, as to what he just said, so.
Not kick the tires in terms of what other types of questions could be potentially being asked, right? So that we can kind of coordinate from a community standpoint how we're gonna educate and do outreach.
Right, so that's not really an information session for people to
No,
understand.
the information is the 15th.
Right, I'm
June
saying,
15th.
being a public meeting, anyone is welcome to join us virtually or in person to ask questions in the public comment section, and obviously,
Right, and my concern is that most people won't do that, right?
That's fine.
So,
I understand.
what other methods of communication are we going to employ to get this message out, is
So-
my thought.
There's the website, the public information sessions, and, working with cable access to make sure it's running on heavy rotation, obviously,
Right.
and using the social channels that we have available. The other,
Maybe we develop an FAQ that goes out via email to residents.
Right,
And lets
so
them know common questions.
the FAQ, the initial the initial FAQ will be posted tomorrow. That was what I
Great.
said at the top.
Okay, great.
And I haven't turned on the website yet, so I'm just setting the expectation. It might be noon instead of 8 a.m.
Okay.
Because we need to turn it on, but it's been drafted and looked at
Good.
internally so that it is ready to be turned on, with the idea that it will grow with questions that we do
Yeah.
hear, and not just the ones that we anticipated, or that in speaking with other communities they heard. There's going to be questions that are particular to Swampscott.
Yes.
And we will continue to edit that to make additions. I would just highlight that if the direction is that there is a broad agreement that that's too quick, the trash side automation can happen without anyone feeling any real change. The barrel that you have is the barrel we'll be using. It's
Right.
what you have been using for years.
Just wave
And
it.
instead of it being someone off the back of the truck that picks it up or puts it into the machine to
Right.
tip, it's now going to be a driver who uses an arm to tip it.
Right.
So there's also that opportunity to say, on recycling, we push it out a week, 2 weeks more, if there's broad agreement, because it's deploy everything, continue to educate. There's a marginal difference in cost at that point.
Right.
As long as we go fully automated as soon as possible on the part that people are used to and have been using and understand and have a comfort level with.
So I think two things. One, when we went through this pain point prior, there wasn't good education. Well, first of all, we weren't in the same financial situation. And second of all, there wasn't a good education on why we were coming to this conclusion, just that you got a barrel. And
There wasn't any education.
There wasn't education. I think although we have not come up with the exact conversations, we have been talking about the fact that this is going to be a financial savings. We've been laying this foundation, although not specific to your trash needs to be set up in this spot, your recycling now needs to be in this barrel. So I agree that there needs to be a little bit of time for that conversation. But I think the backbone of this is really the financial ramifications. So if we were to pull it out a month or 2 months, how much is that going to cost the town on the recycling side?
I think that's a whole nother, we also have to have another conversation involved in this too. Because we're talking about right now, putting out 2 new containers. That's the topic. Here's 2 containers, put them at the end of your driveway and send your stuff out. But we also have to talk about our service levels. And as a policymaking board, we really have to decide, what are we doing as far as our service level? Are we allowing people to buy another bin, which I'm a big supporter of, buy another bin for your trash? What's the cost on that?
Right.
How are you going to get billed? And then the second thing is, how often are we going to do recycling? Do we still do recycling every single week? Now, part of the contract that was negotiated gives us another variable in there of whether or not to have recycling every week or recycling every other week, and then buy another bin. But my concern is, we turn around and we say, okay, here's your new bins, and then at what point do we turn around and say, well, we're changing the way we're doing it. We're going to, you have recycling every other week.
Right.
Or, that's
Well,
that whole big
questions
conversation.
that people want to know the answers to, right? They want to know,
I mean,
how much
I
is my second
actually-
barrel? Do I get a second barrel? Can I have one? Is my recycling ever going to change, right?
And I think as a board, we need to,
So I think we're trying to stage these conversations.
Yes.
A little bit, right, so that we can begin to socialize these things. It just comes down to, there is going to be an adjustment going to automated, and there's going to be a bit of
Pain point?
some pain points in terms of getting the word out to all 5,000 something residences to know that
It's going to be set this way. and
you
it's gonna
need,
be an R.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Republic understands that.
Yeah.
They've gone through this before. In fact, almost all North Shore communities
I was going to say,
are
if
going
you've
through
lived
this.
in any other city surrounding Swampscott, you already know what to do. And I'm not saying that,
And many
I have faith in the people of Swampscott to know how to put out the trash. If we inform them, it has to be out that way, in a certain way. I guess what I'm saying is, when we're having these conversations, we should be setting the table that additional policy conversations are happening. I don't think it's a smart idea to roll them all out at the same time.
Right.
so
I'm sorry.
my worry is, so we're going to roll out one, here's your new barrels, and then next week, we're going to roll out, you can buy some new barrels, and then the following, we're going to roll out, guess what, now here's a new policy, you're only going to be recycling every other week.
I don't
I think you're talking about the same
Why we wouldn't
thing.
roll them out all at the same time? I don't understand why we
What'd you
would
say?
do it
if I-
piecemeal.
If I could just speak
Right.
to the service levels particularly, we wanted to negotiate a contract that would allow you all to make a thoughtful decision with deliberation on what and how you wanted to change it. The best time for us to be negotiating a price was when we had multiple competitors all coming back to us and us saying, we don't really think what you gave us as a quote-unquote discount between every week and every other week is meaningful. Can you take another look at that? Or, if we have these ideas about it, how do they impact the price? If we were to do this, if we were to sign a contract and say it's every week and then come back to them in a year and say, let's negotiate now, we're stuck for 4 more years with them. They don't really have to work with us on it.
Right.
So that was the opportunity where, we were able to establish that this is a potential, and we wanted to know what the best price was, and we were able to get them to compete against each other. My personal opinion and idea is similar to Wayne's. If it's a significant change in service level and every other week is for a community that's always been every week, that's something that I would like to socialize far beyond just, we're asking you to put it in a different barrel.
Yeah.
I want you to, not just you all, but I want to be able to say to the community, like, the savings are X, and it's significant, and here's why we think it's worthwhile. We want your feedback. I also am not trying to hide the ball on the fact that we have a larger barrel to allow for that if that's the decision that's made, and we negotiated it because this is the moment at which we had leverage. So
And I also
it's not
think-
trying to put you all in a position you have to do it, it's just leaving as many options on the table so you can.
I also think you're gonna get a lot less pushback if you give them the barrel, allow them to actually use it for a little bit, notice how much recycling they're actually putting in it.
Yes.
And then say like, okay, we've used it for 6 months, we can tell that this isn't gonna be a problem to move to 2 weeks now. And now you all agree because you've utilized the barrel and you see that that's not gonna be a problem.
I don't think I agree with that, because I think everybody and their mother uses a different size recycle bin. To assume that
You're
we
gonna
all
get a new
use.
brand new
They do
barrel
now.
though.
They do
Right,
Get a brand
they
new
do
barrel.
now. I mean, I use 2 big, huge blue ones, right? So if you're gonna tell me that this little, one that, for example, that you think is commonplace, right? That, people are using way bigger than the standard right now.
The 96 gallons is it's huge.
I've got 2.
You have 296
Two
gallons?
96 gallons.
They're using for recycling?
That I use every week.
Wow.
So that's just me.
That's
Now,
great.
and I'm not really great at it, but honestly, I'm sure there's
Sounds like
people
you
better
are.
than
Sounds like
me.
you're
There are
Sounds like
people
you
better
are
than me.
banner at it.
Honest to God.
Sounds like you win the trophy.
But there's a lot of people that do it. So my concern is, yes, okay, we want to take baby steps and get people acclimated to X, but I think you're better off, here's the whole thing. This is what's coming down. This is all of it,
Or
right?
at least lay
one
it out
point.
all on the table. I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
agree, lay it out on
suggesting
like
we
we're
need to-
hiding
Well,
it.
because you
know?
might
We're not
want to
hiding
say,
it. Nobody's hiding
we
it.
are going to be going to every other week recycling, but we're not going to start doing that until X date.
That's what I think we should.
So we're going to do X date, but I want everything out on the table
Yes.
right away. I don't want,
think
I don't want,
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
want, by the way, by the way, by the way.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
Right.
All out.
nobody's saying that though, right?
No, I
Well,
think-
that's exactly what we just said, though, right?
No, it is not.
It's- I
Phased
feel-
in approach, and
But Nick said,
I can,
I think we're all talking about somewhat of the same thing.
I don't,
Looking at it
I
from
don't
different
think there's
viewpoints.
real disagreement. I don't think that we're hiding it at all. I just laid out that we negotiated for it.
right,
We chose the barrel with it in mind.
Right.
But it is ultimately the decision of you all have said it several times tonight, the policymaking board here in town.
Right.
So that we can implement. I don't know that we have an exact time in mind, but if you all say it, you want it to be 6 months from now or next spring, then
Yeah, I think we have a learning cycle to go through over a couple of months. Yeah, I think we have to reserve the right, and this is about how we go to the public with this. We need to say that we are considering going down to 6 months. Deciding tonight about it,
every other week, you mean?
Every other week.
what did I just say?
Down
6 months. We'll never be able to get Danielle out of the house.
Twice a year.
Did I really just say that?
Second.
God,
But yes, I think.
it's been a long
I
night.
think we all are-
Every other week, yeah.
We need to start the conversation with, you're gonna get a new barrel. You're gonna be automated. We negotiated the price for this to go every other week, good for us. We pretty much feel like that is gonna happen imminently. What does imminently look like? Could be months, but we have to move towards that conversation.
My awareness of this is just that we can't, and I think I'm probably saying the same thing that you just said, but like we need to communicate it once
Yes.
and not drip, 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 drop.
Yes,
That's what
we all
happened.
agree.
We're all in agreement with that.
All agree.
But also, we're not locking in a decision to do anything right now, right? Are we going to make a policy decision in the next,
That's right.
before July, whatever? That we're going to?
Yeah, I think we should be making a policy decision as quickly as possible.
I think we should be making a policy decision on a second barrel
Right.
and how much it's going to cost people and let
Right.
them know
Yes.
Right.
as soon as possible.
That's
Right.
an easier policy decision to make
Right.
than it is
Than
to say
recycling.
we're going to be altering your recycling schedule and
Every other
we're going to
week.
tell
I
you
agree.
tomorrow.
For sure.
There's some math behind as to what that ends up being though, right? And that's what we have to
Well,
have the conversation
That's
about.
what I would have hoped
It's a
has already
financial,
been figured out.
yeah.
By this.
What, the math?
Yeah.
To buy the extra barrel.
So we have the
We
cost
have
for,
that.
we have the cost for a second barrel, and we have the maximum weight that it could be, so we
Great.
can give you over 52 weeks, you are doing a quarter a ton, and so we can
That's an
I know,
absolutely.
people want to know, how much is the second barrel costing me a year? And do I still have to buy blue bags? That's what they want to know.
Right, so,
Yeah.
again, I
So
was
let's
going
give
to
them that.
just Blue bags, yes, you can continue using
Yep.
them.
Right.
Ideally, just put it on top.
Same
But-
cost.
Same, as of today, yes.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Right.
I
for
think
now.
Okay.
what makes more sense, but I do not have the answer right now for you, Danielle, is the idea that if it's someone that habitually is buying bags, that
Yep.
there is a barrel and the cost is X, and that covers the cost and the tipping. The question, and this will again be a decision that SWAC will weigh in, and it's probably looked at already, is this an annual cost or a one-time cost? Obviously, the barrel is a one-time cost, but
Yeah.
do we want to say
Additional
that
tipping fee.
if you're tipping a quarter ton in that one barrel over the course of the year, is it then a quarter of that 125? You know,
I think it has to be annual because.
It's got to be annual.
Because the contract,
amount.
we only have a finite amount of time under the
Right.
contract, right? So this is a
Right.
contract for how many years?
5.
5 years.
Right.
So after 5 years, tipping could go way up, tipping could go down.
Yeah.
tipping- You know, like,
Well, it's gonna go
things are gonna
Well,
change.
another conversation that we're going to be having to face within the next 12 months, that we're going to have to start talking about is whether or not we are charging for our trash. That's
Right.
just something we
Trash
have to,
fee.
the trash fee. We have to start discussing a trash fee sooner rather than later. Whether or not people think we should or we shouldn't, you know, whether you people think we should or we shouldn't.
You people.
You people, us people, us
Us.
folks. It's late, so we have to, but that's something we do have to decide, and
Yeah, I just don't want perfection to stop us from moving forward on
Right.
certain things. So I agree that we need to have that conversation, and I agree that we could even float ideas of that conversation. If somebody asked that conversation at the SWAC meeting or at the public meeting, we should say, it's plausible that that could be a policy decision the board makes.
Right.
Look at the surrounding areas, that
Yes.
you can read 20 articles about it in the last month.
Yep.
But they have not made that decision today, and what we're talking about today are the size of your recycling barrel, where you're putting it for automated pickup, and the idea that we've already negotiated to go to every other week, and that the select board is actively discussing this, so if you want to be a partner in this conversation, please show up and tell them what your thoughts are. No dribble, no lies, no hiding the ball.
Nope.
I,
We can be as transparent as possible.
I do not, and happy to take correction. I think we are doing the opposite of hiding the ball by talking about what we negotiated,
Agreed.
explaining why we chose the barrels, and I will happily circulate the exact dollar amount for if we were to extend it to August 1st before we go fully automated with the recycling to give more of a runway. I think it will not be as shocking as it is in other communities where you get 2 new barrels and so you're getting used to the size of the barrels and where they're going because you all have done a ton of hard work in the past to use the barrels that are small on the trash side, get used to it, socialize it, even though it was painful when it started.
It's still painful.
There's been a ton of benefits the town
Yeah,
has
it's-
derived from that over time.
Yes, I will just say also that we will continue for this process to be painful, because no matter how, listen, we're gonna opine to do the most public engagement possible and get all the information out, but no matter what, there is going to be people who
Yeah.
say, I did not know this was gonna happen, and
Of course.
so, but
the
we will
reality.
commit, which is what we're all here to do, is to commit that we will engage in multiple facets as best we can. I think by the 17th, that meeting for the 17th, we do need to know per barrel,
Yes.
annual or not,
Yes.
so that we can start talking about that. Because I guarantee you on the 8th and the 15th, that's the first question that you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So,
Where do you get the second barrel?
Right.
yeah, how can I
second
get the
trash barrel.
second trash barrel?
Yeah.
How much is it gonna cost?
Yep.
Is it gonna be an annual fee?
Yep.
And so
Do I still use
we,
blue bags? This is what
yes.
it's gonna be.
Can I
So
still
the
use blue
the
bags?
blue bags are a
Yes.
question that are on the FAQ that you
Right.
can, like that.
Yep.
And that was one of the initial threshold questions we had in
Right.
January with folks saying, we don't want to be in a situation where you say absolutely not. And some originally said, no, we don't want to do the blue bag, we don't want to have any bags sitting on top. And when we said, the conversations with your competitors is we can handle it, the tune changed.
So how does the blue bag work with the automation?
You put it right on the
Sits
barrel
there.
and
Just
the
goes
arm
right
comes
on
in and
top.
it just
Well,
flips
in
the whole
theory,
thing.
you could only have one blue bag.
Correct.
right.
Well, you
Which
can,
might be a change for people, because there are people that have
Right,
multiple.
and just to be clear, this is not that they're gonna drive past a place that has other bags, Danielle. It is, ideally, you put 1 or 2 on top and they can lift it.
One.
Okay, regard,
Fit more than
please,
one.
if I could just get through the thought. They are able to stop and get out. The driver
So
of
there
the
is
truck
a
is
split,
actually on
right,
the,
right.
on the.
there's only one
curb
driver
side.
now. That's the
Right.
point. There's one driver, there's no guy in the back of the truck.
And the problem is, if it's the
Gotcha.
household is a habit, then that is when the service will, there'll be thoughts provided back to us as the town to say like, okay.
And episodic, like there was a, birthday party for a child.
Yeah.
And you had extra trash and they'll
gonna
just
get out
take
and
it and
take
throw it in.
Not gonna be episodic, telling you.
Well, we're gonna put-
And I hear you loud and clear, and
We're
we will
gonna buy
have
a
an
barrel.
answer. I understand what
There's
you're
gonna be an
saying.
answer.
Are you
Let's,
stressing out here?
Don't
No.
stress out. We're just bringing, I mean, this is just the reality of it.
okay, so by the 17th, we're gonna have an answer for the extra barrel. We're gonna have that
You'll have it
conversation.
before that.
Okay, before that's even great. If we can be put on
I'll
the 8th,
circulate it.
well, it can't because SWAC should really weigh in on it, right?
I think we discuss it, we can discuss it at that meeting.
Okay, on the 8th, so then it can come before us on the 17th and we can make a policy decision
Yes.
on it. Great.
Do we need to talk about this again tonight? Do you think we
No.
have good marching orders?
Let's move on.
Only a little sarcastic.
Approval, is everybody good to move on, please? The approval of the minutes for March 2nd, March 18th, April 8th, and April 27th. The reason these are not in the consent agenda is because you all were not here, so we cannot, it'll be the three of us voting on it, not Wayne and Ted.
Correct.
That's why it was removed from the consent agenda.
They can vote on it if they want.
I don't think we can since
I don't think they can because they were not members of the board.
Okay,
So just so you know, KP
okay, well,
KP says yes.
regardless, I'll take a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Motion.
So moved.
You want a second,
Going
Mary?
back to
Yes.
March
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
28th.
Would you all like to vote, or would you like to abstain?
So are we,
I'm abstaining.
are you just gonna separate the ones that you
already-
guys vote?
We did.
That's what you just said, okay.
Yep, that's
Up
what I
to
said.
which,
Consent.
up to,
Wednesday.
So March 2nd, March 18th, April 8th, and April 27th, which you were not here for. You
Yeah.
can either abstain
I'll
or you can
abstain.
vote. Okay, so we have 2 abstain and 3 yay. So that
Is
passes.
something right on that Wednesday, April 27th? Because
Yes.
Tuesday, April 28th is when we were elected.
Correct?
That's wrong.
No,
you are right, it was on Monday.
It was
That should
Monday
be
meeting.
Monday.
It should be
April
Monday.
You're absolutely right.
27th.
Good catch.
That's administrative, but
Okay,
Yeah,
This
we'll
is
correct
the
it.
Scrivener error.
yeah,
We'll correct
that's what I
it.
meant.
okay.
Catch.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda you wish to pull from the consent
Pull
agenda?
the liquor licenses, I have some questions.
All of
Then
them?
do we
Yes?
vote on?
Okay, all of the liquor licenses are being pulled, so items 1 through 4 are remaining on the consent agenda unless there are other,
There was one set of minutes that I will just had a minor change to
on the 6th or the 18th?
on the 6th.
Okay, so we'll pull the 6th from the consent agenda, and the motion will
I
be the
want credit for a question Wayne asked.
May 18th, and items
Say
2
aye.
through 4 is the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve?
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we'll take the, first the minutes.
Yeah, so the, I just have this. It said something, Ted Dooley asked a question that was actually a board question during election update. Ted Dooley asked for a breakdown on voter turnout by precinct. I believe that was my colleague Wayne here.
Safety concerns, particularly at the base of the hill, suggesting it, that was me.
Okay, so,
Didn't catch that. I should've caught that.
I will take a motion to
Oh.
approve the minutes as amended with Wayne as the commentator and not Ted.
So
For that
moved.
Second.
Aye.
Hold on.
Wait, which were you saying, Ted? Which line?
I'll take credit for it.
Do we want to just
Whatever.
move these?
Oh, way up
No,
there.
I just wanna finish
Keep
it.
going.
Sorry.
It's not that late compared to other meetings.
Oh, the next one?
What'd you say?
You
Not
asked for a
that late
breakdown
compared to other
of
meetings.
voter turnout by
Not
precinct.
winning?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Okay, great.
No,
So we'll,
it's not that late.
Thank you.
That's it.
so we will amend the meetings to reflect that that was said by Wayne and not Ted. And Mary Ellen just made the motion to approve. Danielle seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Moving on to the liquor licenses. Mary Ellen, please.
So my question is, one, what is the town's liability in the event people are purchasing liquor on town property and something happens? How are we covered there?
I believe we require them to hold their own insurance with us as additionally insured.
The provider of the alcohol.
Correct.
They have liquor liability insurance.
And we
Use
are
regimen.
named as additionally insured.
From my experience running Swamptoberfest for the last 6 years, it's always been, we pull the insurance.
Yeah.
And have the town as a
Listed
co-insured
insured.
Great.
for
That
a specific
confirms.
dollar amount.
Okay, so the second question I have is, on the 3rd of July, because are we only having one liquor license on the 3rd of July? And how much are we getting, how much do we charge? Are we only charging $50 for that?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I want to confirm with Charlotte that I know that in the past, the distributors who sell on the 4th help fund a portion of the entertainment.
Historically, that
Correct.
did it. They
Right,
pay
but
for
is that
bands
happening?
Or whatever, but we.
Yeah, no, that is happening. I want to get the actual numbers for you so that I'm not just pulling those off the top of my head. That is
Still
the
happening
main,
here, but
it's
you
the
won't.
main reason that we even offer it at this point, because they help to defray the cost of the entertainment for the day, if not covered
Oh, we know,
completely.
but historically, previously, prior to the current recreation director, I had questions about the funding mechanism and were we getting enough in return for what was happening? Because it used to be they pay for the band and, it was kind of a real gray area of how much we're getting exactly. Are we capitalizing, making as much as we can? So that's kind of, I think.
Charlotte has told me the number. I don't want to misquote it.
Okay.
I can circulate it to the group and happy to
I
discuss
think when
it
Charlotte took over, she
directly.
handled it differently than prior.
We actually talked about
My understanding.
this specifically, and
Yeah.
not what do they pay us. I was asking, like,
Financially?
what is the actual relationship? Because
Financial
it seems like an opportunity that, similar when I was talking about food service or food
We
trucks at
should
the
go out
beaches,
for
it's something we should be
procurement
bidding
or
out.
bid.
Right.
So I can't answer you with the exact number because I don't want to be misquoted.
She's definitely done something differently. I know that. I can say that, but I don't know how much either, so.
So the other question I have is, the concern I have is the Humphrey Street Block Party.
Mm-hmm.
I am not in favor of having an outside vendor come to the Humphrey Street Block Party for a couple reasons. We have a number of restaurants
Yep.
that have, alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and they pay a lot of money for property taxes, and this is a small area, so I guess I don't understand why we have to bring in a vendor who's only gonna pay a smaller amount when we have the Swampscott Performing Arts, we have we have
Dockside.
Avellino, we have Dockside, we have,
Yeah.
we have people that can provide this, and it benefits them, so I don't want to take anything away from them.
Having attended last year, I will say that the addition of, there were actually 3 additional beer providers at the end of the street by Fisherman's Beach. And basically it
It's a beer
became,
tent.
it was a
beer
beer,
hall.
yeah, beer area, and it was roped off.
Yeah.
And it basically became like sort of a hop around situation. I saw people having a beer at Cafe Avellino and then moving on to Dockside and then moving on to East Regiment. You couldn't carry it
There
with
was
you.
an
You had to,
ABCC reg that they're not allowed to go from establishment to establishment with beer, right?
right,
Right.
you
You
couldn't
could leave
carry
the
it with you,
property.
but you could have a drink and then you could go to the next spot and have a drink.
Pour it out, go get a
And
separate
so
drink.
I don't think there was, and the amount of people that were involved, all the people.
Dockside was slammed.
It was slammed. So
I will say.
I would say nobody lost out on business last year by having a beer vendor at the end of the street. I would say the opposite, quite frankly. It brought more people in to enjoy all different food and beer vendors, and people were attending multiple establishments. So I actually think the opposite is true, and it brought more people to enjoy the block party. But
Is there a rule that we could charge more for a particular event? Is that within our purview to make it competitive if there's such a draw?
We can charge whatever we want.
I didn't know what's
don't
in our
know.
control. Just that,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, that I'm not advocating for that, but I'm saying, is that in our control or not?
Yes.
Okay.
I think my question is, like, you're saying that it didn't affect, G or Dockside, didn't affect their business, but, I question that. Is that their opinion, that it didn't affect their business? I mean, would G or Dockside put out an additional tent in front of their place, or in the Swampscott Performing Arts? I mean,
but they have the opportunity to do so. No, there was,
Right.
Or you're saying
last
like
year,
another
Marcy,
spot. Maybe
last
like a
year,
satellite
Marcy
spot.
went around and advocated and spoke individually to every single business owner to encourage them on additional ideas on what they could do to make more money that day.
okay.
So it wasn't just like, hey, have people come in. She encouraged Volo to come out with slices. We don't do slices. Okay, but like, there were so many people that you could sell Italian sodas or whatever. Like, any way that they could try to make additional funds by that block party. That was the
They were
purpose
given
of the
that
block party.
opportunity,
They were
is what
given
you're
that opportunity. And I think Marzi worked very carefully to ensure that they even thought outside the box and didn't limit themselves so that they could financially have a stake in what was going on.
But does it make sense for us to revisit at this point and say, we're considering having a beer vendor. Would you prefer you know, putting a satellite beer cart or something from your establishment. I don't know if their liquor license would even allow for that.
They'd
but-
have to obtain a one-day liquor license.
Or would we, does it make sense for us to revisit that and offer that up to them again before we approve this?
I mean, I take to Mary Ellen's point, where it's, you know, do you have an outside vendor that's not a current paying, permitted
Full-time
establishment, right? To be able to come in for $50 and sell a couple $1,000s worth of beer. That would be then taking a couple $1,000s away of income from our established businesses on Humphrey Street.
Yeah,
So I take to that point, which is kind of why I was going, if you raise the bar a little higher,
Right.
now everyone's
Putting it at a premium.
paying, everyone's kind of on a somewhat of a level playing field.
Well, I think we first have to find out the numbers, right? We have to understand what it is they're paying, what is the financial arrangement, so we know if it's beneficial or not. And then maybe we revisit with the existing, do you want to get a one-day liquor license to put a satellite location dockside or wherever at Fisherman's Beach? You know,
They're also,
And this year in particular, I
can't-
think it'll be interesting because it's on a Sunday versus
Yeah.
last year.
right,
it was
which
on
I'm
a-
glad,
on a
because
Saturday, right.
I really hated that the businesses, you know, were affected
Taking
by
a hit.
closure from
Right.
Saturday, so that's
And then, you
that's
know, the
great.
issue with church parking as well.
Yep.
So I
There's-
think there were a couple.
there's also legislation pending in the State House now that kind of alters ABCC regulations on, I will say, public drinking. It's not public drinking, it's called
Right.
social consumption drinking areas that municipalities are potentially allowed to approve for this summer only. Where this kind of, if it does happen, this area is something we could consider on this one day that would alleviate some of this conversation. But again, pending in the State House.
You know,
so it's a big
the
gap.
timing of this might be a little bit too late for this year too. I mean, we're in the first week of June. You know, if I'm this vendor, I'd have to say, look, you gotta let me know. Oh, well, this is in August, this is August, so
Yeah.
we're okay with this.
But I mean, this is
thinking
the
Fourth
same
of
point
July.
of the movie nights, the concert nights, we have
Right.
outside vendors coming in, right?
Right.
We're not offering up, you know, and Dockside doesn't have a stand on the lawn or anything.
But maybe they want,
Not yet.
But, I mean, the
Maybe they do.
block party drew thousands of people.
Right,
Absolutely.
So
I
this
just think
is
for that particular one, it's
specific.
the more the merrier. It was incredible amount of people that came out. They were there an awful long time. You couldn't get a seat at Dockside if you wanted, so it
No,
was
you
nice to
couldn't.
be able to go somewhere and grab a beverage. It was really hot last year, and you could, you know, go to the tent and grab a drink, enjoy a beverage, and then leave. And so it kept people there when businesses couldn't handle the level of.
And it might make sense to have, you know, to talk to Charlotte, because she ran it last year with, you know, no notice. I mean, she jumped in and
You
put it together.
Diane.
And
well,
and all of us.
I would
Maybe we
also,
could ask her.
right, I would also like some type of input from Greg at from.
Right.
Greg didn't participate last year
He didn't.
not in the block party. He wasn't open.
No. Dockside did.
And it's hard because they're open for dinner. So
Nord
it's open
Haven
during the day.
Yeah,
So it was difficult for them to be open. The same thing with Nordhaven. They open up for dinner, and so they open up by 4, so they're doing food prep and stuff. They don't have time necessarily to coordinate, although they were open because
They
they
did do
have
something.
they had like
Nord Haven had
pad
a-
thai and
Yeah.
dim
They had a
sum
cart.
They had a-
in the cart. Yeah, they
Yeah.
moved their things
Do
over,
you-
but
do you think after seeing the success of last year that they would be influenced differently
They
than
might.
maybe what
Yeah.
they
I
didn't
do,
have an
but I-
expectation last
I
year?
totally do, but I also think that doesn't mean we shouldn't approve each regimen.
Right.
I think there's plenty to be had here, and there's no
Yeah.
reason to limit this particular vendor
Okay.
with everybody else that's still attending and everybody who will continue to attend. And
Yeah.
I hope everyone participates.
Yeah, it's a
Wholesomely.
lot of fun, and it was a great event last year.
So
On a
that's,
busy day, there's value to,
Yeah.
I'm not a restaurant owner, so I'll preface it, obviously. There's value to someone else being down the street if you got a bar with 10 people deep,
yeah,
Yeah.
having them say, I'm just gonna go down the street, rather than clog up your restaurant and
right.
worry
I mean, I
about that
agree, 'cause
distribution.
We have heard from Dockside or other, when the bakery was here, about how the food trucks at the Hawthorne are a problem, because it was gonna be on a rotation. But being like a one-time event like this, I think it's more of a
Yeah.
boom than it is, consistently battling something.
Rising
Like
tide.
Dockside was busy last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Cafe Avelino was
Cafe
busy last
Avelino was
year,
mobbed.
Couldn't get in.
Yeah.
so it's nice to have somewhere else to go.
And they haven't come back and said anything like, hey, can we not do this, or,
We have not heard anything.
No.
okay.
All right,
What's the date?
the date, The 9th, but it
August
can't,
9th.
it's not starting at 11, right?
I thought it was 11 to 5.
So mass is at 10:30.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Somebody's gonna tell
Yes,
them.
it'll be, we'll.
So it needs to start at 12.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, 11:45.
Yeah, because you're not gonna have,
You're not gonna
you're
have
not
that
gonna have the
parking lot.
Hawthorne parking.
No.
Right, yeah.
People will have to be getting out of that.
We'll make sure that.
Yeah, vendors, I was a vendor last
We
year.
can share.
Right.
So it,
Later.
getting
That was the
set up,
staging
getting
area.
set up was a little chaotic, and we can,
Yeah.
it just was, it was the first time.
Using the Hawthorne parking lot for that, it was closed beyond, right? It's closed, that's within the closed area, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So for staging, they may be willing to do that because they're not gonna have customers pulling into park. You can't get there.
That's true.
So they might be willing to work with us on the use of the lot to support the event, because they're not gonna have customers driving and parking there. The customers will be walking to that area.
They might be putting a lot of stuff outdoors.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
I'm just saying it's a discussion that
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
have to try to support
Yeah.
the event.
It's gonna be tight with mass. That's gonna be,
we'll let Charlotte work that out, but it was just something to think
yeah,
about.
like
So-
Steve Luck, I think.
So if we can
was
just
the police.
get back to the topic, do we want to pull this one out or support it now? And then we can also answer these questions for you. We can have Charlotte come to talk about where we are in planning and everything. But I just want to make sure, where we were was Mary Ellen had pulled this out and had thoughts about what to do with it. So I just want to make sure we answer that before the end of the night.
Right, well, on Pride,
So
it's too late to change anything on that. I wouldn't want to really do that. And then on the fireworks, that's right around the corner. So I think getting an update, some clarity on what's really happening is fine with me, because maybe in the future, we weren't going to say, look, we're not getting enough revenue on our end
Mhm.
here.
How many,
Clarification if you, sorry, I just heard from Charlotte, and it's actually, the hours will be from 3 to 7.
For the
What?
block
3
party.
to 7 for the
3 to
block
7
party?
for the block
Really
party.
short.
Black Party.
Oh,
3 to
that's
7?
totally different.
3 to 7.
We have 11 to 5 here. Oh. Okay,
So we can just pull that one out for today?
that's a good idea, Nick.
Also, I think
We'll
there are
bring it back on the
multiple
17th.
vendors for the fireworks. Did Charlotte text you, Marzi?
What'd she say?
Yes, she just texted me, but she only texted about
Okay.
the block party.
I think there are multiple firework vendors. East Regiment is not the only liquor
You mean
license.
multiple beer vendors.
There were
Beer
some that were provided to the administrator's office today
Oh, okay.
That didn't make it
that
on
were
here.
late.
Maybe we can add them to the
We
8th.
will add them.
You
Oh,
could
that
add them
is,
on
we can
Monday.
do them, yeah.
We can add them on
I was
Monday.
thinking the 17th, but we can do it on the 8th.
Okay, great.
That'd be great.
Yeah, if you could let us know what the finances look like.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then I guess
what's
the
the motion?
motion would be to approve all but you want to pull the block party out.
Right.
And so would be approval of 4 one-day liquor licenses for each regiment, and we will put block party and some other ones on the 8th.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Alrighty, so, select board comments. Reports, anything?
Vic, just quick, going back, you said discuss on the 8th,
On the 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
as in this.
Monday.
The special
Monday.
meeting on
The
Monday.
special meeting,
Yeah.
okay. How many things are we talking about on that night?
So now we're talking
We're
about
only
liquor
talking
licenses.
about 2 things. We're talking about the entertainment and liquor license.
Yep,
And we're talking about these one-day liquor licenses,
Okay.
and we're gonna have more information, so it's gonna be more clearly and succinctly ascertained whether or
okay.
not you.
I was just concerned that I've got like a small period of time.
You have 15 minutes, Wayne.
It will be
So
quick.
we will,
All right,
we will keep that in mind, that there are 15 minutes. I have faith in us. Considering the time right now, I have faith in us. We could do it in 15 minutes. Proud of us.
I think we do it in 7.
This was a big meeting, and
How
we
many
got through it pretty quickly, so appreciate
I
that.
could name that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Erin's gonna go home and write a whole thing about the recycling and the trash cans going out.
Please. Thank you.
You are.
All right, does anybody have select board comments, or shall we go?
I only have congratulations to the baseball team. They won their NEC conference, first time in 30 years.
Wow.
Congratulations to Coach Joe Caponegro, Coach of the Year, for the conference. They just did a phenomenal job. It was nice to see. So congrats to that team.
Congrats.
And the high school boys had a good, valiant showing this week, was it Monday night, against Weston, down in their lacrosse
Yep.
match.
Yep, they did.
So put up a great effort there.
Girls
Uh,
lacrosse,
The girls
too.
And the
Lacrosse,
girls
too.
lacrosse,
Yeah.
yep. And I said earlier, but the new commercial boat fisherman boat access, I guess, on Fisherman's Beach that DPW led was really well done. And watching that, I kind of spent a lot of time kind of watching it evolve over the 2 weeks they were pouring concrete at low tide and covering it up for high tide and doing it all over again. They did a really good job.
Excellent.
It was really impressive, and I know the commercial fishermen were very, very, very appreciative.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So I just want to recognize Emiliano, Nate, Daniel, and Joe Dulett. And I'd also like to make everybody aware that a long-standing individual staff person at the high school, Mr. Al Tierney, has retired. And I'm so depressed over that. He was the nicest guy, and
I think we kept him up too late with our meetings.
maybe, but I think he loved it. So maybe we can have a party at some point and celebrate him. But I really appreciate all his hard work. I'm sure everybody does. And that's it for tonight.
Okay, so I attended one of the MMA webinars a couple days ago, and I found it absolutely, I don't want to say fascinating, but highly educational, not just as being new, but relevant in terms of a lot of things that have changed, some legal opinions and some judgments that have come over the last year that I think everybody on this board should be familiar with. So I would advise if you can go and watch from June 2nd. It talked about everything from environmental permitting for energy, housing development, climate action, energy regulation, starter home zoning, 40Y, cannabis consumption in the new law. Just a lot of things that were covered that I think eventually may become for us at some future point that we should become familiar with. So just recommend, and it should be on recorded and available. So.
Great. I had one resident reach out and they would like to commend the Swampscott Police Department for their action that they took in an incident. Sorry, there's a giant fly around me. Anyways, please, what is going on?
Meanwhile.
I don't
Okay,
know.
sorry, it's really big, and Nick's laughing at me. This particular issue was like at 3 a.m. They were asleep in bed. They heard somebody having a issue in the street, a sort of a mental health issue. They called the Swampscott police. They responded, and they just commended the way they responded by de-escalating the issue and coming to a very safe resolution to a situation that could have ended not very safely. And so I would like to commend, I don't know who the officers were that were on, but I want to commend, the Swampscott Police for that reaction and the continued service to make sure that, when people are in that time of need, that they're there to help them get the help that they need. So appreciate that very much. And that is all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank
Second.
you, Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very
Thank you.
much.